It's like every part of this is stupid.
Business, they're going to be forced to hire legally, and they're going to be forced to play by the rules. When businesses and everybody plays by the rules, the country is better off. The country is not better off if businesses break the law to get a leg up on their competitors while acting like they are engaging in some noble pursuit that's not at all related to money, especially when giving those jobs just leads to numbers like this, where 17% of people aged 16 to 24 can't get jobs in New York City. And these
That's
are people
a lot of fucking people can't get a job. Damn.
People who would be willing to work in an air-conditioned business where they can bring their smartphone like a grocery store or a bodega. These are not people who won't work because they refuse to do the jobs that exist. And here's the thing. These businesses like this dry cleaners mentioned by that news anchor, of course they're not hiring people who they think are victims of trafficking. And they might think they're playing by the rules.
With the air conditioning? Well, the argument that he's making is that, and there are some like really, really low status, really shitty jobs that it's hard to fill with American workers. So people use like migrant workers to do that. And I think this is especially true with agriculture. But what he's saying is that the entire premise of that goes away when you're talking about working at a gas station, or you're working at Subway or Amazon. Like, these are normal places that average people can work at. The requirements are not going to destroy your body. There's nothing like that's extreme, like a call center. Yeah, it's an easy, comfortable job. Well, I mean, like, it's not an easy job, and it might not be comfortable, but like compared to picking strawberries, it is.
Because so many businesses here don't. And the most maddening thing about all of this is, yes, New York is a sanctuary city, but it's also very progressives. And who do progressives say they're sticking up for? The little guy. They're out there on one hand advocating for the little guy to get higher wages.
Yeah, they've gotten psyoped into defending these massive multi-billion-dollar companies or multi-million-dollar business owners into thinking that they're helping the little guy by advocating for these business owners to continue using, second-rate, second-class citizen labor. It's really impressive. Yeah, it's like tipping, in a way, yeah.
And more protections, but at the same time, they're totally okay with businesses who don't do any of that in the name of open borders. Minimum wage in New York is $16.50 an hour, and ask any progressive, they'll tell you that's too low, and they'll tell you that greedy businesses should be paying more because workers.
You know what's funny is that I think that they're right. I think $16 an hour probably is too low in New York, and I bet you might not be able to make a living working 40 hours a week at $16 an hour. Like, I would view, like, this is like my view on like minimum wage, right? Is like, if you're working 40 hours a week and you can't afford an apartment or a place to live on that money, then the minimum wage needs to go up. Because if it doesn't go up, you have an untenable situation in the long term.
Workers are the most valuable input in any economy. Unless, of course, those workers are in the country illegally. If that's the case, there is nobody advocating for them to get higher wages or more protections. There's just anger at the fact that ICE is here and might arrest somebody who's a criminal. And this puts progressives in sanctuary cities in a catch-22. Here they are advocating for policies that disenfranchise workers who they say are already disenfranchised by virtue of their immigration status.
And these people don't care about anybody, any workers or anything like that. They just care about having the right opinion. That's it. Yeah, it's all optics and virtue signaling. That's it.
Awful workers, they don't have the one thing legitimate workers have, which protects them. And that is the power to walk.
Here's the way that I look at it. You can tell the employee to get a better job, but have you ever thought about telling the employer to get a better job? Like, if you have a function that you can't even justify paying somebody a living wage for, maybe that's your fault as an employer. That's just me.
Away from any business they feel isn't treating them fairly and work somewhere else. That's not possible if the only job you can get is because the people working there are willing to break the law. And this brings up a big question. Are the businesses who are hiring people illegally doing something good? Or are they just doing something that's good for their bottom line at the expense of the rest of society? And does that...
Well, it's guaranteed that they're doing something that's beneficial for them financially. Like, that's the guarantee.
Power the very criminals and gang members ICE may have to raid a business to find in the first place. Let me know what you think about that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.
I love these fucking videos. I think this guy's amazing. I'm so glad that he's calling this out, and I totally support Cash Jordan. I've watched like probably 10 of his videos before. Good video. Yeah, he's so good. And I really think, like, I mean, he's doing the Lord's work, right? I mean, like, it's crazy how bad this shit's gotten. I'm actually really kind of shocked.
Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Holland here. We got 2 Joe Rogan clips. We're going to go from Andrew Schulz back to Billy Corgan. And what we're talking about, Joe Rogan's, he's talking about people pretending to be somebody else when they're at work. Then they touch on the show Severance, which also explores that whole aspect. Then we go over to Billy Corgan, where he's talking about audience capture and how celebrities have to often pretend to be someone else that they're not. And then I'm connecting all that to how we have to be today because of social media. And on the way in explaining that, I play a little bit of Alan Watts talking about society. If you don't know who Alan Watts is, this is going to be a mind blow for you. If you know who he is, then this is just going to be a treat for you. But let's start with the Rogan stuff, and then we'll get into the rest.
After me, I was hoping that he would bomb. And I remember thinking that, like, what a bitch-ass way to think that is.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a bitch-ass way to think. And I completely shifted my perspective. Because, like, you don't think like that with martial arts. Like, you can't think like that. You know, you can't think like that.
Yeah.
You can't think like that ever. That's like a weak thought.
Yes.
And then I realized, like, oh, this is like your brain trying to occupy itself with, you know, this time that's going to be between you and your goal of doing something in comedy. And it's so far away. You suck. You're 21 years old and you suck.
So everybody else got to suck.
So you want people to fail and you want to do better.
Yeah.
And it's like it's just a total scrambly, I don't know what I'm doing with my life thought.
Yeah.
And I realized, I was like, oh, that's a bitch ass thought.
But that is very normal for human beings.
Oh, yeah.
I
There's
feel
a lot
like
of bitches out there.
yeah, like we're kind of
People give
made
in.
in general. Like it
Well-
takes more effort to not be a bitch, actually.
Especially if you have a job. So if you have a regular job, like an office job,
Yeah.
you will pretend to be a whole different person for 8 hours a fucking day, every day of your life that you're there.
Yeah.
That is a lot of time bullshitting.
Yeah.
And when you get out of all that bullshit, there's not much you left. Whatever could have been you never grew because whatever could have been you was stifled by fluorescent lights and a fucking monitor.
You're watching Severance, right?
Oh, yeah.
There, I mean, clearly it's a metaphor for. I don't know. There's a lot of things that go on to
There's
it.
a lot going on with
And
that
also,
show.
shout out Ben Stiller. I didn't even know Ben had this like level to him.
Right.
I've always respected Ben. I thought he was hilarious, making great comedy movies. But I didn't know he was like an avant-garde storyteller. Like,
Right.
I mean,
It's
this
also
is-
the way it's shot is
It is
brilliant.
The first episode, every shot. I don't know who the DP is. Like, we should find out who that guy is. But every shot has like perfect symmetry. Did you notice that?
I didn't notice
You
it,
could
but
cut the
it's just-
screen in half every single shot.
Really?
It is masterpiece. And but I think about that, like this idea of like severing yourself. A lot of people are doing that at work anyway.
100%.
And it's what you were describing. They're this other person at work for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
They aren't their self. There's a different identity. They make up these little terms like, oh, it's my work wife. It's like, yeah.
Well, that's why it's so easy to push like crazy woke nonsense into an office space because people are already bullshitting.
Oh, so if we're already pretending here, what
Yeah.
else are we going to pretend
What
about?
else do I have to do to keep this job?
Yeah.
What do I have to do to get a promotion? What do I have to do? Do I have to pretend that trans kids, what is it? Drag queen shows? Okay, I'm in. I'm in. Healthcare? Yeah, not my whatever you want to call it.
And it's
Gender affirming? Was that what we're calling it? Okay.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like, to see how little pushback there is about like from the workers now that all these like programs are being wiped away. Like,
Well, the people that are losing their job are complaining hard.
Well,
and
no.
then the senators are complaining hard. But
Yeah.
everybody else is happy.
yeah, the people who've been faking it at work that are still working there are not like, damn it. You know what I mean? They're just going, all right, good. I get to be like a little closer version to myself.
It's very true. So, talking about Severance, if you don't know what Severance is, I'm not going to spoil it and show any clips of it or anything, but it's basically a premise where people are at work and they have a brain implant, predictive programming, Elon Musk, they have a brain implant that separates them from their work self and their personal self. And that way you're not feeling, you don't know anything about your personal self when you're at work, no thoughts about that whatsoever. So you're not dreading the day, and vice versa. Very interesting stuff. It's very much like Black Mirror. Now, just touching on what they were talking about. Now, the whole thing about this is we already kind of have this brain chip. In a sense, it is our phones. Our phones, and I guess you could say also our online presences. But it's definitely our phones, 100%. It makes this weird separation. I'm just pulling up the next clip. It makes this weird separation for us. So we have it at work, and we have it on our phones. So the thing is, this separation of ourselves is growing more and more to the point where usually you're more yourself and then you have your whole work and everything. But now this other element's arrived, and it's almost like you're your actual self the least. And I know some of you are like me and you don't care and you're just out there. I get it. But I'm just saying, as you know, the masses, you don't get to be yourself nearly as much. Let's jump over to this next clip, and then we're just gonna dive into the whole subject.
I never been there.
Sorry. I have this plague that I can't get rid
But
of.
if you have that Tommy's perception that everything's work, the whole world gets really weird.
Well, I think we're there.
Yeah. We definitely are when it comes to politics and the news.
I think our whole culture has been turned into like where are we?
Right.
Like, that's why I started calling it like 5-7 years ago a post-truth era.
Right.
I mean, we've all been in that situation where somebody in our inner circle will bring up something that we know from a factually presented basis isn't true. I heard so-and-so did so-and-so, and you go, no, that's not true. Let me show you the YouTube clip. You know what I mean? This didn't happen, or no, so-and-so made a left, not a right. But because of what they've heard, they believe it. And you can literally show them something and say, no, look. And they're like, well, that must be AI or edited. It's like, once somebody becomes convinced of this culture, it's really hard to unconvince them.
Right.
And so from a performing point of view, and somebody who's now also in the podcasting sphere, it's like, is it better to play into what people want? Like I really appreciated in Bruce Springsteen's Broadway special when in the first 5 minutes of the thing, he basically says, I'm not really Bruce Springsteen. Have you ever seen it?
No.
It's really worth watching. In the first 5, it's when he did his long Broadway run. You know about that? He did this thing where it was like, he would talk and then play songs.
No, I didn't even know he did
it was huge. He went on this massive Broadway run.
Huh.
And the HBO did it and put it on as a special. But he literally, in the first 5 minutes of talking, and it's about 1,200 people a night, so it's a live audience, and he says in the first 5 minutes, by the way, I'm not Bruce Springsteen. Like I mean, that's my name, but the Bruce Springsteen you think, he's like, I don't know how to fix a car. I've never been in a factory in my life. He serious.
Yeah.
Now, I knew that as a performer, I knew that what I was watching wasn't real, but people want him to play John Wayne so bad that he puts his finger in there and says, okay, you want me to be John Wayne? I'll be John Wayne.
Right. But that's audience capture, right?
Yes, but now we're in the business of it. I mean, there's obviously examples, historical antecedents over the last 100 years of
Right.
media where people would figure it out.
Right.
Charlie Chaplin or something, you know what I mean? Like they wanted him to be the tramp, so he became the tramp.
Right.
He wasn't that guy at all.
Right.
He fed into it and obviously connected to something real in him, but he wasn't really a tramp. He was a complete rich Lothario.
Well, you really see it in The Dictator, that movie, The Dictator.
Yeah.
Where he has that insane speech at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Uniting the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was out and out socialist, basically.
And a brilliant guy. Like,
Oh, yeah. I
Which
mean-
is really crazy when you think about how silly his character was. His character was this like bumbling, stumbling goof.
So that's what I'm saying. What is more valuable? What the public wants from you, or what is true? In the entertainment world, we're used to it, right?
Yeah.
Like you could play Joe Rogan comedian at the drop of a hat because you've done it. and Joe Rogan, the UFC announcer, you know, just I'm not saying it's not who you are, but it's an extenuation. We say in wrestling, you turn the volume up to 11.
Right.
It's still Joe Rogan. I don't see you as
Yeah.
being disingenuous. I can't even think of one time I've ever seen you in any media where I thought that he's not Joe Rogan. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I've done it. I've played other people. So but what I'm trying to say is now we're in this thing where like everybody's doing it. I mean, everybody. We've all looked at some girl on the internet and said, that's not how she really looks. And you got to go
Right.
through the Instagram and like you find the real picture.
Right.
Like everybody's kind of become comfortable with like a filter over everything. So that's what I mean. We're in a post-truth world where the impression is becoming more valuable than the reality. That's really, I think, unprecedented.
Yeah, I think so too. But I also think that authenticity is more valuable now than ever before because it's hard to find.
Well, that would be my argument for why my band has risen back up. Because we're one of the only bands left that sort of represents some ideal that's long abandoned.
Right. You're not a corporate creation.
No, we never were.
Right.
And we were.
And there's so many of them now. You feel like, you know, like you ever seen Kinnison's bit about the monkeys?
the band, the Monkeys?
Yeah.
I don't. Give me the.
Well, it's a bit about Manson. It was, and then you know, he does this bit about the monkeys, about they weren't a real fucking band, like because you know they were pieced together by a corporation. The monkeys, like one of the, which were great. The monkeys are great. I'm a believer. They have some great songs, but they were kind of one of the first corporate creations.
But I actually on my podcast recently interviewed Mickey Dolenz.
Oh wow.
And we talk a lot about this very subject. It hasn't aired yet, but he was less interested in the discussion than I was because my argument would be is that the Monkeys are actually the template that came. Our whole lives, the Monkeys were dismissed as an anachronistic thing that went against the integrity of the Beatles.
Right.
But if you actually look now, Beatles versus Monkeys, the Monkeys are more accurate of what came than the Beatles.
In what way?
Because authenticity is less and less and less important. Those who establish authenticity, and I would include myself amongst that, and I would include you in that, they're very valuable. But you also know, because of your public things that have gone on, you've had to stand there and take a lot of shit. Because just even speaking your own truth is inconvenient in a
Yeah.
post-truth world,
Yeah.
right? So it's actually more politically expedient to create a character that can navigate this new world. And by the way, change on a dime.
Right.
Does it make sense the way I'm
Yeah.
positing?
No, it does make sense.
So my argument.
Makes sense.
So my argument would be from a rock and roll historical point of view is that the Monkeys are actually more relevant now in a particular way. The Beatles are this preeminent band. That's not the argument I'm making. I'm saying is the model of the Monkeys, which was always held up as for a form of mockery.
Right.
See, this is what you get when you make plastic music. No, we live in the age of plastic music now.
Yes. And it's not that authenticity right now isn't wanted. And the thing about it is, the reason I play that clip is because, you know, he's talking about celebrities. They're talking about these two, you know, incredible bands, these two big bands. But that extends to all of us now. All of us are now, because of social media, all of us are now forced into this plastic type of mold. We're all forced to wear this plastic type of mask. You know? It's very interesting. It's almost like it's an invisible social shock collar that we all now have to wear. And before it was just the celebrities that had to wear it, and they do. But now it slowly becomes everybody. And it's all because of social media. It's all because we all stepped into this online world. Because now your online world, you know, it extends to your physical world, where you say something online and then it can extend to your job, and then you can get fired, and then it can impact your family. And that's happening more to regular people than it is to celebrities now, you know? And then, you know, that question that he asked, you know, what the public wants or what is true, you know? And now we're kind of all having to face that, because even if you were to make a, you know, because some people go the route of, let's just make an anonymous account and then I'll say whatever I want. But then there's another separation, because is that you? Because you can't attach yourself to that online presence. You can't say, I'm Jim and that's me, then that's just my burner account that I use. You can't say that. So now this online presence becomes something else. And it's another thing that you have to hide. And you have to hide the way that you are at home. Maybe you're conservative. You know, you're in a super liberal field. You know, I had that pretty much. I worked in film and television, and I always had these conservative views. I mean, now they're a little more flourished and developed because I'm always talking about it, but it was always there. You know, if someone came up to me and was like asking me like what a man is and what a woman is, I'd be like, what the hell? What are you talking about? You know what I mean? I'd be like, this is and this. I wouldn't do, it's a social construct. I wouldn't know to say any of that stuff. And then I don't mince my words. But again, you kind of have to be quiet about certain things. You know, I've told this story before. I remember being on set, and I was getting along with this guy. He's a director of photography, and we're talking and we're connecting on a bunch of different stuff. And I'm like, do you listen to Jordan Peterson? Have you heard Jordan Peterson? Because I'm about to like talk to him about some stuff. And he's like, oh, and he kind of like shushes me kind of thing. And then we're over by Kraft. It's just where you get coffee and food and stuff. And he's like, man, I can't talk about that stuff on set. I can't talk about Jordan Peterson, you know. And he starts talking about how he can't really talk about how he listens to Jordan Peterson because then people are going to look at him a certain way and more conservative. And the next thing he knows, he's not going to get other jobs or, you know, maybe even gets removed from this one. And that was a real thing. And I remember being like, wow, I had a much lower level job than he did. So I wasn't really concerned, but he was up there. So he didn't want that to happen. It's just very interesting the way this all happens. I have a bunch of things written down here. Yeah. Social media made us all fake celebrities. Like now it's all of us, you know, people. And this goes back to the point about the monkeys. You respect fake now more than real. And not you, but I mean the masses. They respect fake more than real. They respect money more than integrity. They respect material more than integrity. You know, if you tell somebody, I mean, this argument comes up all the time with artists. If you say this artist, all their songs are written by someone else, people say, I don't care. He's rich. He has more money than you. Who are you to even speak? He has more money than you. And it's like, yeah, but he paints his nails and he's pouting in pictures. And he acts all feminine. It's like, you wouldn't want to be a guy like that. Oh yeah, I would. He has that money. He made that money. You know, it's this weird thing. And then the whole talk about the masks that we have to wear. Let me pull up this Alan Watts clip here. The masks that we have to wear constantly, you know, the shock collar that we have to wear. What else do I have written down here? You respect that. And it's not just that people respect fake more than real. You being real will anger them. Because it becomes, why don't you have to go along with everything? This actually pertains to the Alan Watts clip I'm going to play right now. Why don't you have to go along with everything? We're all going along. We're all being polite. We're all nodding our heads to, you know, Orange Man bad. We're all nodding our heads to, you know, Jordan Peterson is evil. We're all nodding our heads to this, and you're not nodding your head. They actually get mad. It's not that they're mad at your view. They're mad at the fact that you get to just speak the way that you want to speak, you know? So authenticity gets pushed aside. People don't want it as much because it kind of shows, if everyone's wearing a mask, then it's kind of agreed upon. And mask is actually a perfect analogy. I mean, you can remember, if everybody's wearing a mask, then everybody just says, yeah, we're all doing it. But when somebody's not, they all go, well, I mean, I don't want to take mine off because I don't want to be a bad person, but like, why does he not have to wear his? And I don't understand. Why does he get to be real and I have to hide myself until I get home to my wife? And then it gets even worse because sometimes it's even, you still have to hide a lot of yourself from your family because they don't like the dream that you had or the things that you want to do or the way that you want to express yourself or the fact that you want to pick up guitar and you want to start doing that again. They don't like all that. So now you have to hide yourself even more. And then the online thing kicks in and it's like, when do you actually get to be yourself? You know? And if you're one of those people like me, you get to be yourself all the time. I mean, I have this tattoo on my hand so I get to be myself all the time. It makes it so I can't hide. That's why I have it. I have a whole sleeve of just like mushrooms, you know? Just like it's all just covered in mushrooms. It's so I can't hide and I can't act like someone else. Because if I try to act a certain way, eventually they'll see my hand and they'll be like, "Oh, I know something very big about this guy that this guy does." That this guy partakes in, you know? But so many people, like, they have to hide. They have to. It's very interesting. Alan Watts talking about society and the outsiders here. You have to make sure this is not at double speed. Okay.
Playing. Don't take it too seriously. Because if you take it too seriously, you're going to start destroying each other and fighting and saying this city against that city, this country against that country, so on, because you're too involved. So every sane society allows a certain number of people to deviate. Monks, some sort of outsiders. It says you don't have to join, you don't have to play the game. A society which is insane and unsure of itself cannot allow that to happen. It says everybody must join, everybody must work, everybody must belong. And then freedom disappears. Because as a matter of fact, the anxiety is if you say, well, you don't have to join, there are conditions under which you can go out, then a lot of people get together and say, well, what would happen if everybody quit? I ask, what would happen if everybody decided to take American Airlines Flight 3 to New York tomorrow? Well, they just wouldn't get on. I mean, and they won't anyhow. Because a lot of people aren't interested in that, are not ready to quit. That doesn't mean that they're inferior. The acorn is not inferior to the oak tree. It's a potential oak, but as an acorn, it's just as beautiful and lovely a thing as a full-grown oak is. A baby is as lovely as an adult, sometimes a great deal more lovely. So a person who is in a beginning state of evolution is just as marvelous as a person in a high state of evolution. Just as much a manifestation of the divine dance. So, when a society allows a certain number of people to withdraw, it should have no anxiety that everybody will want to withdraw. Because some people are absolutely fascinated in competition, in being involved, in playing the game. They should be. It's fine for them. But we are witnessing in the United States today a great motivation for withdrawal. It's simply because we haven't provided for it. We haven't, there's no opportunity for a Protestant to become a monk, or a Jew. The Catholics have half-heartedly provided for this sort of thing. And there have to be people who stand outside the game and do not identify themselves with a class, with a name, with an ego, with a persona, with a role.
Now, that's Alan Watson. That's how things were. But again, going back to social media, going back to this invisible shock collar that they've put on us, all of us, this phone, these profiles, they no longer want that small percentage of people to not play the game. Now everybody has to play. And in fact, the only people who are really excluded from the game seem to be, crazy drug addicts And I don't mean crazy mentally. I just mean like, you know, the guys who are like knotted out and bent up and stuff like that, and homeless people, right? One and the same sometimes, a lot of times. They seem to be the only people who aren't really allowed, who are allowed to not play the game. But then arguably they're playing the game the most, you know, the game of life. It's like they got life metaphorically and physically like injected right into them, you know. Man. It's just very interesting to think about people not being themselves, and then also to think about, you know, am I being myself all the time? What a great guy this guy is, huh? Oh man, if you don't know about this guy, go listen to more of him. But yeah, there's a lot of us who are now regular people now suffer from audience capture. You know? Audience capture is, you know, Benny Johnson can't suddenly start talking about liberal values. Just not Matt Walsh can't do that. You know? There's just they're captured. You know? Me with this channel. When you're on YouTube, you can't just make a food video and then a cooking video and then a vlog and then a car video. You can't do that. It'll destroy your channel. You know, it used to be called golden handcuffs. You get a job that makes you so much money that you're kind of handcuffed to it. So it's like you got all this gold, but they're in the form of handcuffs. That's what it used to be called. But I'm thinking of it like a shock collar, because when I do step out of those constraints, when I do step out of those, like we talked about, what was it called? Rule sets. I believe it was called rule sets is what Thomas Campbell was talking. When I do step out of that, I get a shock. I get a shock in revenue going down 65%. That's a real number. Happened recently. You know, I get these little shocks. That's why I had to make the other channel. I'm like, I need freedom. I can't just not have any freedom. And even this, being able to do this gives me a sense of freedom, because I don't want to talk about politics all the time, every single day. You know, I want to explore my thoughts. Like right now, I didn't hash this out for hours. I'm trying. I like the thought process to be done live in a sense. I'm working out this thought process as I was hearing that, because I heard Andrew Schultz talk about that, and I remember Billy Corgan talked about something similar. And it's like, yeah, people at work have to pretend just as much as celebrities have to pretend who are audience captured, you know, ideologically captured. You know, many people in Hollywood are very conservative, but they just can't show it. And it extends everywhere. They just can't be that way, you know? Just like back in the 50s, guys would be gay and they would have to just stay closeted for decades and decades and decades. And, you know, comes out later on, crazy stuff like Marlon Brando and Richard Pryor. You ever hear about that? If you haven't heard about that and I just said that to you, you're like, what do you mean, coach? Huh? What do you mean, Marlon Brando and Richard Pryor? Yeah, Marlon Brando and Richard Pryor. Go look it up. I can't get into the explicits, but Marlon Brando and Richard Pryor, weird stuff. Weird stuff. But yeah, that's just what's happening, and it's today. It makes me wonder, because I haven't lived back then, but today it has to be worse than ever, because, you know, all those people that weren't attached to the technology like we are. We are attached to the technology, you know? For a bunch of you, you got this notification. You get notifications all the time when videos come out. You know, sometimes YouTube doesn't do that for me. I don't know why. But you get notifications. Like we're entangled in this thing. And it's forcing us to not be ourselves. And it's a good game that they have set up, because as they force us to not be ourselves, they slowly push. The thing, I was talking about this with my friend. Because I was showing him pictures of, you ever seen the pictures of girls who go to college and they look like just regular, girl coming out of high school, and they're like, and they got long hair, and they're like varsity, and they're like, and then by the time they're done, it's like shaved head, lip ring, nose ring, hoop thing that comes out, and tattoos, and they've gained a bunch of weight. Like, this is like a whole bunch of just completely different. And we were talking about it, and we were talking about how things like this online presence, this being captured, it forces you to empty yourself. Like, being a part of, we'll just use wokeness as the thing. Part of that ideology forces you to empty yourself, to get rid of all of that stuff. That's why they kind of put it on, your parents are bad, and, you have a lot of young people looking at their parents as racist, and et cetera, et cetera. It forces you to empty yourself, and then you get filled with the woke nonsense. So they take away your identity, and then they give you this identity, which is why so many of them, you're like, why do they all wear these glasses? Why do they all have this hairdo? Why do they all say these things? It's because they have this one identity that they're allowed to have. The women have one, and the men have the other, and that's it. That's what you get. And they look the same, and they talk the same, and they all talk in upspeak, and it's a thing, And and as much as I want to blame wokeness, which is like, what's wokeness? It's just like in the air. It's just a word that I use. It starts with this social media shock collar that we have, this audience capture that we have. The audience has just expanded, I think what I'm saying is, and I just want you to think about that. Think about an actor that has an audience. Think about a YouTuber that has an audience. And then think of yourself and think if you have an audience. And if you could be captured by that audience. That audience can be the people that you work with, your social groups, men's group if you're a part of them, gym community if you have that going on, sports teams, family, extended family, core friends that you've had forever who are like family. This is your audience. And now we have, and on top of that, the online communities that you're a part of. You can be audience captured in that sense. So it's not just for celebrities anymore. It can happen to everyone. And again, I'm not saying it's happening to you directly, because you might be a recluse. You might be one of those deplorables, like me. But it's wild that that's happening to everybody. And I just thought of that as I was seeing that clip, and I was like, I remember Billy was talking about something like this as well. Very intelligent coming from Billy as well. I kind of glazed over that clip when I was going through and doing my thing, pulling up the clips and blah. I was more focused on him and Bill Burr being brothers and all that nonsense. But yeah, very intelligent coming from him. And it's true, the plastic, the fake, that is what we are now all taught to idolize in a sense, aspire to in a sense, because the celebrities that we're watching are fake. Not just fake in the roles that they play, they're fake in what we see as their real selves. They're fake. And then so many people, and then again, the people online that you see. Like right now, I'm kind of like, I guess I'm like breaking a fourth wall, I guess. If I was thinking of it from like a showbiz performance stance, I don't know. But I mainly do stand up, right? So it's like, that's what I do. I don't know. But so many people that you see online, they're like that. They have this fakeness. And if you saw them in person, it wouldn't be the same person. It's weird. It's very, very weird to think about. In life, you always think that you've broken through, and you are who you are. You've evolved. And then there's always more. Recently I've just, there's been something that broke through, and I didn't do anything. It's just, something that kind of evolved. You know, fatherhood kicks in, and you know, who do you want to be? How much time do you have? You know, Rogan always says you got 80 summers. You know, if you're my age, if you're like 40ish, you know, you got 40 left. You'd be very lucky to get 40, you know. I had a good friend of mine. He passed away younger than he passed away years ago. One of my best friends, he's like a brother to me, but he passed away years ago and he was younger than me, you know. I have another person who's like a brother to me. Their sister passed away when they were like 28. You know, you never think that you have that little amount of summers. You know, we kind of feel like we're promised very old age, but we're actually not, you know? And that's why it's so important, this topic of, you know, being real, being actually real, and not letting, again, back to, you know, if you watch the other thing, Tinfoil Time, and that's kind of what I'm just going to call this. I'm going to call this tinfoil time as well. You know, those constraints, those rule sets, you know, how long are you going to let those rule you? How long are you going to let those stifle you? You know, because they're movable. They're optional, you know, they're optional. You can change them out if you see fit. You can write your own. They're customizable. You don't have to just roll with what you were given. It feels like you do, because that's how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to feel like that's what it is, but it's not. It's not. Anyway, you know what I mean? Listen. The thumbnail says tinfoil time. If you didn't put on your tinfoil Speedo, what am I supposed to do? You're wet now. Okay, what am I supposed to do? You're wet in your underparts now. It's not my fault. You did that. You chose to do that. You chose to click on the video without the tinfoil Speedo. That's not on me. I put mine on. That's all I'm wearing right now. If I stood up, it would just be thighs and tinfoil. Oh my gosh. But yeah, think about that. And then think about severance and having the chip in your head that separates the two. And that seems like such a wild concept. But then think of the fact that you do that manually already. And how much more of a wild concept is that you already do it manually. And you do it without being told. No one tells you to do it. You just know that if you're a guy that, you know, you like to say the F word, and not the 4-letter F word, the good one, the 3-letter F word. If you're a guy that likes to say that one, you know you can't do that at work, and you just won't do it. You know? It's weird. It's just, you know, I'm saying social media, it's almost like society puts an invisible shock collar on you that kind of keeps you in check. You do it manually already, you know? But then how do you fix that? I don't know. I guess you have to live a life where you don't have to do it. I've said for years that I've made a life where I get to wear hoodies and sweatpants every day, and that's what I wear. And I have 8 pairs of the same sweatpants. They're black. You'll always see me in them. That's what I wear. If you ever see me out, you never see my legs now. If you ever see them, they're going to be covered in sweatpants. That's just the way it is. And I'm always wearing hoodies. Sometimes I'll wear a t-shirt. Maybe. You know, Texas summer. You're kind of forced to, or else you're going to pass out. This is just the way it is. You're going to pass out on Lady Bird Lake, the boardwalk. You're just going to be stranded, and that's it. So, but that's the life I've decided to have. And again, I don't hide, because I've been thinking about this for myself for a long time. But I've been living a life where I don't have to be constrained by the social norms, I guess you could say. But I never think of what puts the social norms in place. And it's very much it's not just society. And you know what? I'm going to end this off with this. I forgot to actually get this going, and it might be a little hard to find. I actually might have it in a playlist, but it's Terrence McKenna. This is something that I love. Culture is not your friend. It's the culture that does this to us. Is this him saying it live? Oh, good Lord. No, it's not, is it?
6 billion people.
No, the audio's terrible on that. I don't want that. We'll play this one.
What civilization is 6 billion people trying to make themselves happy.
Here. That's on double speed, but you know, it's the culture that does this. The culture that surrounds us that makes us do this. Here, listen to this.
What civilization is 6 billion people trying to make themselves happy by standing on each other's shoulders and kicking each other's teeth in. It's not a pleasant situation, and yet you can stand back and look at this planet and see that we have the money, the power, the medical understanding, the scientific know-how, the love, and the community to produce the kind of human paradise. But we are led by the least among us, the least intelligent, the least noble, the least visionary. We are led by the least among us, and we do not fight back against the dehumanizing values that are handed down as control icons. This is something, I mean, I don't really want to get off on this tear because it's a lecture in itself, but culture is not your friend. Culture is for other people's convenience and the convenience of various institutions, churches, companies, tax collection schemes, what have you. It is not your friend. It insults you. It disempowers you. It uses and abuses you. None of us are well treated by culture. And yet we glorify, the creative potential of the individual, the rights of the individual. We understand the felt presence of experience is what is most important, but the culture is a perversion. It fetishizes objects, creates consumer mania. It preaches endless forms of false happiness, endless forms of false understanding in the form of swirly religions and silly cults. It invites people to diminish themselves and dehumanize themselves by behaving like machines.
Yes. Behaving like machines. And now we are directly connected to those machines. And that is the catalyst that makes us act like machines. Again, like I said, you do it manually already when it comes to the whole separation of self from work self, personal self. You do it manually. They're already making you act like a machine, and it's only expanded since they've attached us. My phone's not in the room. But since they've attached us to these machines, and they've attached you based on your profiles and your information, and now you are liable for the things you say. And yes, they can't come to your house or anything unless you're German or you're in the UK or Canada, but they can cancel you. And then it becomes, with the canceling, 42 minutes. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, guys. What? This is a long episode. I'm sorry. I thought this was going to be short. And then when it comes to the canceling, I had this whole thing written here. Who does the canceling? Who cancels you? Is it people? Is it agencies? Is it bots? Smith agents? Who actually cancels you when that happens? Because here's the thing. And again, I told you, put your tinfoil Speedo on. Right? Think about the Matrix. Like, people cancel you, right? Especially when it comes to like a regular person. People cancel you. Or even celebrities. We can put them into it too. People have enough and then they start messaging your job and this and that. But We live in a world today where they could easily just cancel you. They could be the ones. They could see you step out of line in a way, and they could say, well, enough is enough. We already know that there are troll farms, bot farms. Who's to say that they don't go towards people who do things that are unmentionable? Who's to say that doesn't happen? Right? Who's actually canceling you? You know, in the Matrix, when someone sees you step out of line, they don't actually do anything. They just turn into a Smith agent. But it's not actually them. They completely become a Smith agent, and the Smith agent goes after you. And in person today, that is pretty much impossible, except through ideology. But online, that is completely conceivable. I mean, right now, I mean, what did that, Rogan always talks about that guy who says that he thinks 50%, I think he said 80% of what we see on X are bots. You know, you ever heard of like dead internet theory? That, you know, maybe 5% of what you see online is actually people doing it. So who's canceling you when you do get canceled? Who's actually contacting your work and going after you? You know, who's sending enough emails to make the talent agency drop that comedian or that actor? Who's actually doing that? It's funny that we automatically, I've never even had this thought process. It's funny we just automatically think it's us. We do it. It's those woke people. Is it? I don't know. Maybe some. I don't know. It could easily, you could easily do that with technology. It's bots, swarms, easily. No problem. Sending emails, all that. We now have the technology that's indisputable. This is not even tinfoil. This is ChatGPT, APIs, building your own chatbot, building 100 of them, and making them do what you want. This is an easy thing for people to code. This is a very easy, especially for people to code who also know how to use AI. So they don't even have to do the coding. The AI will do the coding of the bots that will do your bidding when it comes to canceling someone. I don't know. It's weird. You got to think about that. Right? We're at a point where the Smith agents are real. I know there's blue-haired people and there's bad actors and there's paid and this and that. I know. But also you got to think of that. So, again, it goes right in line with what Terrence was saying. Culture is not your friend. It's not your friend. You know, and the culture of today, he didn't have this, but the culture of today is the social media, it's the tech, it's AI. This stuff is not your friend. I mean, I've done episodes on this. This stuff is not your friend. You might use it here and there and it's good, but it's not actually your friend because a lot of it takes away your ability to be a person, to be a functional person. You know, like more and more people are using voice to text. I use voice to text. When I'm answering your comments, it's all voice to text. That's why sometimes it might look weird. It's voice to text. But that's not good. If I do that long enough, I'll be like, oh, how do I spell the... That's not good. And then people who have spell check on, eventually spell check turns off and they're like, I haven't had to spell my own words in a long time. Right? So culture's not your friend. And it's weird because everything is always put in the aspect of it's convenient for us and it helps us. And I guess it does. It does. You can't argue that. We have access to so much information, but it also stunts us in other ways. Every time there's an advancement, there's also a stunting that happens to us as well. Always. I mean, self-driving cars for 10 years. People are going to be like, I don't know. Like Demolition. You ever seen the movie Demolition Man? So she's like, what are you going to do? You're like, how do I drive this thing myself? She's like, you're going to drive it yourself? That's dangerous. She doesn't even know how to drive a car. She gets into it. She's like, oh. She has no idea. Right? So a super like that movie, they're in the future. They're advanced. They can freeze Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes and thaw them out and watch them battle it out in front of Taco Bell. They can do all sorts of things, but they can't drive cars. You know? Like, and we're at that point. But some of us are so young that we don't even know what it is that we can't do. You know? We're that far gone. So yeah, anyway. Told you, it's tinfoil time.
No intro today. Instead, a trigger warning. We are covering incredibly serious topics, and it's the major reason why we are covering them is because no one else is. Yeah, Candace Owens, you got your right-wing guys, they're not covering it. That's weird. Your left-wing guys, your Hassan Piker, not covering it. We're going to look at both of their lack of coverage today as we proceed down this rabbit hole. This is honestly awful. Incredible trigger warning. Violence and awful, evil shit going on in the world, with a large focus on the fact that the media is always despicable. You don't hate them enough, all right? Guys, the Nux-based art is not fair. I'm doing way too much time researching my videos, and I really don't like needing to devote so much time and effort to my content, okay? Subscribe, god damn it. We make enemies with everybody. So, Justin, hundreds of civilians, including children, reportedly killed by Ahmed al-Shara militants in Syria. And then, of course, you have all these people in the comments, Grok? Is this true? You know why everyone's asking Grok if it's true? Do you know why no one is, talking about it? Why there's no protests in the street? Why none of this is happening? Because no one's talking about it. Because no one's talking about it. Candace can't blame Jews, so Candace won't talk about it. Hassan can't blame Jews, so Hassan isn't talking about it. So get ready, guys. We're going down a crazy rabbit hole. But this is happening. There are videos coming out of Syria of entire families being slaughtered in their homes, women and children. The new Islamist president of Syria is silent as his forces go door to door conducting ethnic killing. They are killing Muslim groups and Christian groups in Syria, and no one cares. What's Grok? Grok is Twitter's AI. So we're going to actually go through this and cover this properly with a fun spin on it that, let's see if CNN is talking about it. All right, Al Green got censored. All right, whatever. Bernie bro, okay. Musk is unelected. All right, cool. Van Jones, DEI purge. All right. Trump takes credit for jobs. All right, so they're not talking. Nothing here. All right. Maybe MSNBC is going to talk about it. All right. So we got Trump's tariff war. All right. We got Elon Musk, of course. That's important. Al Green's important. He yelled like a baby in Congress, so that's probably important. Doge cuts. All right. World order. All right. We got Elon. We got Doge. All right. We got more Doge. We got some Musk shit. This is just fake information, by the way. Musk and Rubio clash. There is no clash. They are literally just lying. That's just fake information. No Syria. All right, interesting. So if this crazy shit is happening in Syria right now, it's pretty weird that no one's talking about it. That is weird. Now, Tulsi Gabbard, the new overseer of American intelligence, called this. Okay, turns out she was literally right weeks ago. All right, so let's look into this. Let's see what she has to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Colonel Gabbard, when Russia was denying us use of chemical weapons, they accused the U.S. of supporting terrorists. This is a line that Putin used frequently during the Syrian civil war as he supported Assad. Syrian officials made similar...
So let's remember, Putin supported Assad. Let's get all the players. Assad has recently been overthrown. All right, the current new people are butchering people in the streets.
They did it repeatedly. They did it in public. They did it at the United Nations. In 2016, you gave an interview in which you said, and this is a quote, "The U.S. is providing direct and indirect support to terrorist groups in order to overthrow the Syrian government." And in 2019, on the Democratic presidential debate stage, you said of President Trump, this is a quote, "This current president is continuing to betray us. We were supposed to be going after al-Qaeda, but over years now, not only have we not gone after al-Qaeda, our president is supporting al-Qaeda." So I'm interested to hear, what was your goal in saying these things?
All right, what is your goal?
Did you consider, before saying them,
important, I think,
the motives of Iran and Russia, what their motives might have been before making these claims?
All right.
Senator, as someone who enlisted in the military specifically because of...
Damn, can you believe Trump elected a woman? I thought he was removing the rights of women. That's what the liberals were telling me. That's crazy.
Al-Qaeda's terrorist attack on 9/11 and committing myself and my life to doing what I could to defeat these terrorists. It was shocking and a betrayal to me and every person who was killed on 9/11, their families and my...
That's why Hassan doesn't like her. I get it, because he supported 9/11. That's the difference.
My brothers and sisters.
I'm just following. I'm paying attention. I'm just trying to take the notes down. No one else is going to give you the base Nux treatment.
In uniform. When as a member of Congress, I learned about President Obama's dual programs that he had begun really to overthrow the regime of Syria, and being willing to, through the CIA's Timber Sycamore program that has now been made public, of working with and arming and equipping Al-Qaeda in an effort to overthrow that regime, starting yet another regime change war in the Middle East. DoD train and equip program, again, begun under President Obama, is widely been known, looked at, and studied, that ultimately resulted in over $500 million being used.
That's a lot of money.
To train who they called moderate rebels, but were
So these are the moderate people we're talking about, right? They're training moderate people. I want you to pay attention to the context before we actually dive into the meat here.
Actually, fighters working with and aligned with Al-Qaeda's affiliate on the ground in Syria, all to move forward with their regime change and not acknowledging what was obvious at the time and what has unfortunately borne true, which was that a regime change war in Syria, much like the regime change wars in Iraq, the toppling of Gaddafi and Mubarak, while these are all dictators, would likely result in the rise of Islamist extremists like Al-Qaeda.
So what she's saying is that the quote-unquote moderate people that are being empowered, when they take over the country, it might lead to the deaths of tons of other people by Islamist extremists. This is her claim.
Taking power. I shed no tears for the fall of the Assad regime, but today we have an Islamist extremist who is now in charge of Syria, as I said.
That's what she said in her confirmation hearing a couple weeks ago.
Who danced on the streets to celebrate the 9/11 attack, who...
Not the Jews. That was crazy. That was not the Jews.
Who ruled over Idlib with an Islamist extremist governance, and who has already begun to persecute and kill and arrest religious minorities like Christians in Syria.
I understand.
Why that should be acceptable to anyone is beyond me.
She's spitting facts.
It shouldn't be. Certainly.
Hey guys, Jew reporting on Christians dying. I don't know why there aren't Americans reporting on Christians dying. Why it's on no freaking news station, but here we are. Nux news station. We got Jews reporting on Christians dying. What is going on in the world?
I appreciate your answer and thank you. My concern
he appreciates it. You could tell.
Has to do with the tendency to repeat Russian and Syrian, and even in some cases, I think we'll get into in the closed session, Iranian.
If it wasn't so sad, it would be funny.
Information.
If it wasn't so sad, it would be funny. Hello? He's telling her, why are you repeating Russian and Syrian propaganda talking points? She is literally proven right. Everything she said came true. Literally everything.
And to discount what comes from our intelligence community.
Oh my God.
Senator, every American deserves to know that people in our own government were providing support to our sworn enemy. That should not be acceptable by anyone.
True. That's correct. I think everyone should know that. True. Turns out she was completely correct. And Mark Kelly, that bald guy, Baldo over there, was accusing Tulsi Gabbard of spreading Russian and Iranian propaganda for telling the truth. She was right about everything she said. These people are now murdering Christians in the streets in Syria. All right, now, again, you got this whammon showing up on Joe Rogan to tell them about how Tulsi Gabbard is fake and lying. Well, she gets to eat it.
Kirsten Gillibrand. Oh, monstrous.
Monstrous?
Ideas.
Well, when she was 22, she had...
No, she's an Assad toady.
What does that mean?
Assad is the former regime in Syria that was recently toppled. They were bad guys, all right? The Assad guys were bad guys. They were recently toppled by more extremely bad guys.
She is
What's a toady?
I think that I used that word correctly. Jamie, can you check what toady means?
Like towing the line? Is that what it means?
No, I think it's like a Toadie.
What does that mean?
I think it means what I think it means.
Nice. Love these people. They're so good.
Toady, definition of toadies. A person who
sycophant,
flatters or defers to others for
kinda used it right.
self-serving reasons.
A sycophant.
All right.
So she's an
she is claiming that she is supporting the regime of Assad. All right. Wicked smart. She's wicked smart. She's using words that she doesn't know. She is describing Tulsi Gabbard as someone that is, for self-serving reasons, supporting a regime. And it turns out that Tulsi Gabbard was completely right about everything she said.
Assad sycophant. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's known about her.
It's known. It's known, guys. It's known. Lock in, guys. It's known.
She said that.
We have to look.
qualifies her.
I don't remember the details. I've read.
probably
Oh,
should
she doesn't remember.
Say that before we say that about her. We should probably read it rather.
Well, I have read it.
No, I mean, we should right now.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Just so we know what she said.
Look up
I've had her
Tulsi
on here
Gabbard.
before,
Look
and I
up
really enjoyed talking to her. I like her a lot.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I like talking to her.
You like this person that the media told me was a bad guy?
Okay.
I like talking to her. I don't know about.
I think she's like the motherlode of bad ideas.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's a pretty big claim. Yeah.
I'm pretty positive about that,
positive,
especially on Assad. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong.
Well, my take on her was that I think, as a person who's coming from the left, who's also a veteran and is very articulate and sensible and a woman, and in talking to her, we didn't get into Assad or any of those things, but talking to her about what she feels is wrong with the current administration and the way things are running and a direction she thinks things could go in. She has some very promising ideas. I didn't know about this.
But doesn't she also, did she ever apologize for believing in conversion therapy?
I didn't even know she believed it.
Just to make an apology for a bad opinion a million years ago. Anyway, did she ever make an apology for saying that she's an Assad toady when literally this is happening all over the world? If you look up Tulsi Gabbard in the news, all right, Fox News says that Tulsi Gabbard's warning about Syria was actually prophetic, and it was true because an Al-Qaeda-linked regime is slaughtering minorities, including Christians and little Muslim sects in Syria. If you look at every other news site talking about Tulsi Gabbard, her net worth, Zelensky priority, she fired intelligence officers, sympathetic views towards Russia, history with Russia, downplayed UK, the mystery of Tulsi Gabbard, pro-Russia, fired intelligence officers. You can keep going literally forever. Who is Tulsi Gabbard? UK, director of national intelligence, chief spy. Let's look at all this random bullshit. Right? No one is talking about this. Why is no one talking about this? Can't blame the Jews, I guess. I don't know. I'm making this shit up as I go on. So this is a nice, chubby German Islamist in Syria, making a pretty crazy claim as to what's actually happening in Syria. Talking about the Shias, that's a group of Muslims that they don't like. Right, convert to Islam or die. Well, that's pretty crazy because, you know, there's 150 million Shias. Like, that's a lot of people. What do you mean convert or die? It means that all these 150 million will die if they don't convert? Yes! That is what it means. Hell yeah. 150 million, 200 million, 500 million. We don't care about the number. Let's go. Very nice, very nice. Most rational person I've ever seen. Anyway, incredible trigger warning for the rest of this video, okay? This is just bodies lining the streets in Syria, okay? I'm going to show it to you because I think it's important that somebody covers it, all right? I didn't show actual death footage of people getting murdered, but that is where I cut it off. This is people riding them like animals, forcing them to bark. They filmed this themselves with laughing emojis. Literally, they filmed this. Islamists in Syria are indiscriminately attacking and torturing civilians. They're targeting Christians, Druze, and Alawites of Syria. They are riding them, and they humiliate them, and then they murder them. I'm not showing you the actual footage of people getting murdered because, you know, for multiple reasons. But this is a nightmare, and no one's talking about it. Literally no one. Like, Syrian Christians and Alawites are being slaughtered in Syria. The death toll is 1,800 in the last few days. That's a lot of people. It's crazy. You have people making pleas, like begging.
Covering my face now because I don't want anyone to see my face, because if they see me, they will kill me. I'm from Syria. I live now in the city of Latakia. Please, please, please. The media is not showing you anything.
But why not? Why not? In Gaza, there's news in Gaza every single day, okay, about Hamas terrorists. When a terrorist gets injured, there's news about how the poor terrorist got injured. But why is no one talking about this?
The terrorists are killing everyone, children, women, teenagers, old people, just killing. There is more than 100 body in my village now. Even in the city, they are just taking the children and the women and kill them. I don't know what to do with my mom and my two sisters. Please, you gotta help us. Nobody's talking anything about it. Not the social media or the TV channels. They are all hiding the truth. They are saying that they are killing the resistance, but this is end up 2 days ago. Please, you gotta help us. They have been killing people since 2 days until now. Hundred of bodies are thrown in the street, in the villages, and in the city of Syria.
It's awful. It's unbelievably tragic. Why is no one talking? All the political people aren't talking about this. This is happening right now. Okay, right now. This isn't like some ancient war. This is happening right now.
We are not allowed to go out of the house. They just come to the houses, take the people, kill them outside of the house, and take all the phones so nobody record or do anything. Please, you gotta help us. I have two sisters. I don't know what to do with them. If it's okay for me if I die, but not for my two sisters or my mom. One of them is a teenager. Please, you gotta help us. Nobody's talking anything about it. Human rights, United Nations, anyone, America, anyone, just please help us. You need to do something about it.
Now, unlike in Gaza, where, they have hostages, where they initiated this, where they attacked first, all right, let's be clear, they attacked, and that's causing this retaliation on Gaza. Unlike that, which that's everywhere in the news. Where are the college protests? Where are the college protests?
The social media is not showing anything.
Yeah, that's why I'm here, guys. That's why I'm here. So, you Jew talking about, hey guys, look, it's me, the Jew, talking about Christians dying. I don't know how I'm in this position, to be honest. But it's tragic. Waiting for the students to occupy college campuses to protest the ethnic cleansing in Syria. Yeah, crazy. I don't know. That's wild. That's pretty weird, honestly. Actually covering the streets. Bodies. Over 100 Christians slaughtered in Syria yesterday. It's unbelievable. I'll show you. Again, I looked through these to make sure that you wouldn't get, these are people just being packed into the back of vans, like civilians, massacring them and just throwing them. No Jews, no news, I guess. I don't know. It's crazy. It's mind-boggling. Again, this isn't Gaza. This isn't Judea and Samaria and Israel, all right, or whatever. This is Syria last night. It's just people murdering each other, and no one's talking about it. No one knows. This isn't news anywhere, somehow. So this is what Jeffrey Sachs had to say a long time ago.
This is a U.S. mistake that started 7 years ago. President Obama said, Assad must go. And I looked at you and Joe and I said...
Right, Assad is the regime that was just taken over in Syria. They're the old guard.
Huh? How's he going to do that? Where's the policy for that?
Right.
And we know they sent in the CIA to overthrow Assad, the CIA and Saudi Arabia.
The CIA is mega corrupt. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Together in covert operations tried to overthrow Assad. It was a disaster.
I hope that somehow Trump and Doge and whoever actually do manage to figure this shit out. I don't know. It's insane.
Eventually it brought in both ISIS as a splinter group to the jihadists that went in. It also brought in Russia. So we have been digging deeper and deeper and deeper. What we should do now is get out and not continue to throw missiles, not have a confrontation with Russia. 7 years has been a disaster under Obama, continuing under Trump. This is what I would call the permanent state. This is the CIA, this is Pentagon, wanting to keep Iran and Russia out of Syria, but no way to do that. And so we have made a proxy war in Syria. It's killed 500,000 people, displaced 10 million, and I'll say predictably so, because I predicted it 7 years ago that there was no way to do this and that it would make a complete chaos. So what I would plead to President Trump is get out. Like his instinct told him, by the way. That was his instinct. But then all the establishment, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Pentagon, everybody said, no, that's irresponsible. But his instinct is...
Somehow, all of the fucking government-owned media outlets that are literally just pushing the same shit again and again and again, shitting in each other's mouths, somehow all the people that are owned by the shadow government, they all have the same opinion. That's pretty weird, isn't it?
That's right. Get out. We've done enough damage, 7 years. And now we really risk a confrontation with Russia. that is extraordinarily dangerous, reckless.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, isn't it? It's kind of crazy that somehow the shadow government that's controlling the media and controlling the fucking politicians and shit, they're out there like, dude, you're not going to believe this when I show this to you. It's not even believable. Look at this, all right? This is a clip that just someone made this 3 days ago, okay? 22 Democrat senators were caught using the same script and clips word for word. Look at this.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
They say the same thing, the same shit that ain't true, and they repeat the same lines and the same talking points. All of them. They have the same script. Someone's getting fired. They have the same script. Like, look at them. They're all saying the same line. It's going down, not up. It's going up, not down. They don't give a shit. The same shit. All of them repeating, garbling talking points. It's crazy. It's insane. This is what's happening. They're just beating these people up. This is the moderate people in Syria that are doing this shit. They're just beating people up before executing them viciously because they're not the right type of people. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird that Assad goes down and all this shit happens. It's kind of crazy. They're like seas of bodies. Right? The media called Syria's new Islamist regime liberators and moderate rebels who freed the country from Assad and his evil Russian benefactors. And this is the shit that's happening. Like, god damn. Like, look at this. They're shooting into random civilian homes. I'm sure it's not random, but just shooting into civilian homes. Like, this is insanity. Alex Jones, graphic images of dead people in mass graves. Not mass graves in World War II. Nope. The Alawites, a Shia minority in Syria, are being ethnically erased by the leader Ahmed al-Shara, al-Qaeda's army. Remember CNN 5 months ago saying that Ahmed al-Shara was reformed and a great guy? His new government is cleansing out Christians as well. This is the globalist left. Whatever, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, you see what I'm saying? This is unbelievable. It's sickening. All right, so this is Biden. We all recognize him. Our favorite Muppet as a president. All right. Shout out to him. What did he have to say about Syria?
We will engage with all Syrian groups, including within the process led by the United Nations, to establish a transition away from the Assad regime.
All right, good thing we're leaving the Assad regime, guys. This is going to go well for everyone.
Toward independent, sovereign, independent, I want to say it again, sovereign Syria with a new constitution.
Right. Good news is, guys, we left the Assad regime. Huge dub for everyone.
A new government that serves all Syrians. This process will be determined by the Syrian people themselves. The United States will do whatever we can to support them, including through humanitarian relief to help restore Syria after more than a decade of war.
Right.
We will.
So anyway, I mean, this guy says that Biden regime is to blame. Biden told people that this new government was going to serve all Syrians. Yeah, anyway, can barely hear it. Oh, that's because he's a Muppet. Don't blame him. Right, so here is the Islamic extremists mass executing people in Syria and making them crawl on the floor and bark like dogs. This doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel real that this is happening and that no one's talking about it. These are scenes from Syria. Islamist forces killing anyone that they consider an infidel on sight. Christians, Druze, Yazidis, and Alawite Muslims are all facing genocide in Syria. It's crazy. It's insane that this is happening. It's wild that this is happening. And the media is quiet. I mean, the good thing is U.S. aid was funding people in Syria. So that's good, guys. Hell yeah. Go USAID, baby. Good thing we don't... Who's anti-Doge in my chat again? Anyone anti-Doge in the chat today? We had a couple of anti-Dogers in the past looking on where this shit was going. Well, the good news is it was going here. Huge dub. We love this. So this is a crazy clip. So this is I believe an Australian journalist with a crazy take.
I've just been looking at some of the most horrific images of children in Congo, Christian children who have been slaughtered.
I'm pretty sure they killed 70 Christians in the Congo.
100 people slaughtered. In fact, there's so many that they're stacked in the back of a van, and you can see their little feet and blood. These kids have been slaughtered. And then I'm looking at Syria, where they're hunting down minority groups, where they're torturing people, where they're shooting elderly people in the head, where they're making men go on the floor and bark, and then they're shooting them.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And those children have been killed. It's a bloodbath there. So then I'm going to all the people, the accounts the human rights advocates.
Yeah, where are the guys? All the people that did the Palestine protests. All of those guys that are funded probably by Qatar. Well, all of those guys.
Feminists, all those who accuse me of not caring about kids in Gaza because I want to eliminate the terrorists who are responsible for their deaths. And there's nothing. There's nothing there. I fight for all children. I fight for every child everywhere when I stand up against terrorism. You fight for one group of children and not even because you are agenda-driven and your hate for a group of people is far greater than any love you have for children. Where are your posts? Where's your outrage?
Literally.
Where are your marches?
How many people in my chat even knew this was happening before I made this video?
Those poor babies in Congo. Elderly people in Syria. Where are your marches? I've shed tears for children in Gaza. I speak about children in Gaza weekly, and you accuse me of having white woman tears. You accuse me of only caring about kids if they're not brown. Well, I care about kids in Congo, and I care about kids in Syria.
It's crazy that this is happening. And you know the wildest part? Everyone's noticing that people aren't even talking about this shit. Like, it's not just the fact that I have like my finger on the pulse of the news, and therefore I know every time a tragedy happens literally everywhere. But the craziest thing is, somehow, people are picking up that there isn't this outcry for some reason. Why not?
Why don't you?
God damn.
Your feeds are empty.
And I'm as confused as she is. And honestly, thanks to X. All right, Elon Musk bought X, and now there's actual news that gets out because the news media fuckers don't actually have to hide everything. Thanks to X, you actually have people posting footage that they take, which is insane. And look how confused she is, and I'm equally confused. I don't understand. I have seen a dozen Jewish accounts calling out the terrorists slaughtering Christians in Syria and the Congo. Tucker, Candace, Russell, Fuentes, where is everybody? Literally. Tucker did a show on it, try again. Tucker did a puff piece. Okay, I don't know what Tucker did. Bashar al-Assad protected the minority religious communities in Syria. Whatever. I don't know what he said. I'm not covering Tucker. I didn't watch his stream. I'm not going to let somebody else speak for me here. All right, I don't know. I do my own research, and if I don't do my own research, I'm not happy. Christians in Syria being tortured, brutally killed. Where's the outrage? Where's the world? Why is everyone silent? No Jews, no Israel, no story? I'm so confused. It's so disturbing. Now, let's check into our leftists and our right-wing people, all right? Candace Owens, she's right-wing, right? She's very Christian, very right-wing. Let's see what she has to say. All right, so she talked about LeBron James, and she talked about Taylor Swift within the last day. All right, that's an important topic. It's important. She also, she made a video about Andrew Tate, all right? What about her Twitter? Maybe she said something on Twitter. No, LeBron James, Theo Von podcast, all right? Pretty crazy. What about Hassan? Right, he's a leftist. He cares. He cares, bro. He cares. Hassan is known for his caring, especially about people that are terrorists. So he cares. All right, so Trump crashes the economy. Trump talks with Hamas. Right, he's a terrorist sympathizer. We've established this on the channel. Trump trade war. All right, he got canceled. All right, so not on this channel. What about his Twitter? All right, so here's a retweet from today. He's talking about how Colombia anti-Semites are losing funding. We're on the same page here? Colombians that hate Jews are losing funding from the U.S. He's upset. Oh, a quote of Goebbels, not Nazi quote. All right, nice. That's our progressive left. Hell yeah. Cryptocurrency. Trump is doing cryptos. All right, sure. All right, so nothing here. Art of the deal. All right, love that. That's huge. That's awesome. So nothing there. What about his Twitch? He's live right now. He must be talking about it. He's live right now. All right, this is what he's talking about now.
That actually is so funny. This has 100,000 likes, bro. Why does it change? Why does it change to this after a bit?
Hilarious. He's looking at this. This is him now.
Yo, my
on Saturday Fun Day, Fun React, some drama. This is current Hassan Piker journalism as we speak. This is what's going on right now. Now, this is a protest. This is a protest that happened today. Now, you're probably wondering, where did this happen? Where do you think this happened? Any guesses? In Vienna. Yeah, that's right. In Vienna, supporting the new jihadi regime in Syria. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool. Now, speaking of immigration, just out of curiosity, how many Syrian immigrants are in Europe? Just asking, just out of curiosity. It seems like there are about 1 million Syrians in Europe right now. That's good. Anyway, that's been today's video. I just kind of was a little floored and shocked by the tragedies that go on in the world that no one talks about, that our taxes funded. So yes, I am actually very pro very pro Doge, looking into where the government's money is going. I am a big supporter of actually not funding terrorists with, our funding. I'm a very big supporter of the whole, not sending American tax dollars to terrorist organizations and getting involved in overthrowing other regimes and replacing them with worse regimes. I personally, not a huge fan of this. I also find it incredibly curious and incredibly weird about how, CNN doesn't talk about it, MSNBC isn't talking about it. When you look up Tulsi Gabbard, everyone's talking about how she's paid off by Russia or some shit. Not about how she was literally correct with what she said about the Syrian thing. When she, the whole media comes together to say evil. No one is talking about this. It is actual silence. Actual silence. She's played off as a nutcase by literally everyone. She's a toady for Assad. Assad toady, guys. Guys, I'm not gonna lie. This is insane. I think Trump is gonna be the one to talk about it, and then the media is gonna talk about it. Because the media, for some reason, doesn't want to bring it up, and they're hoping no one will notice. I don't know why all these people that care so much about everyone to always paint Jews as the bad guys literally every time, they're all silent. Now, I want to play a game with you before we wrap up this video. It's a new game. It's currently in progress. I'm inventing a game. I am a game dev, if you will. I call it 4 Degrees of Jew. How long until someone blames Jews for Muslims murdering Syrian Christians? All right? So that's what we wrap things up with. Lock in. I'm excited. Gamers, rise up. Rise up. It'll be exciting. How long until someone blames Jews for Syrian Muslims murdering Christians? It's gonna be good. I'm involved. I'm here. I'm locked in. Definitely subscribe for more takes that are definitely not gonna get me canceled in the future. Gooners, rise up. I'll see you in the next one, baby. I personally am very excited for all sorts of future content on the channel that doesn't involve tragedies. But hey, look at the bright side. There's so much chaos. We will never be bored ever again. Thanks for locking in, gamers, and I'll see you in the next one. Like, subscribe, and this video was streamed live on kick.com/Nuxanor. See you there. Stay weird, fam.
Let me go back to what happened in the Oval Office the other day. I call it a smackdown of Zelensky.
Smackdown.
It looked really rough, but then again, at the end of the day, you may have your deal back. So was that all the art of the deal? Or what specifically ticked you off?
Well, he was able to, it was like taking candy from a baby, what he did. He's a smart guy.
Who's the baby? Probably Biden.
And he's a tough guy. And he took money out of this country under Biden.
Jesus, I knew it. Oh my God, I knew it. He was so dumb. Yep. See, I told you guys that's what it was. I knew it.
Like candy from a baby.
Mm-hmm.
It was so easy. With that same attitude. And I just don't think he's grateful. We gave him, in my opinion, $350 billion. Europe is in for $100 billion.
Mm-hmm.
We gave him $350 billion, and he's talking about the fact that they have fought, and there's a bravery because somebody has to use the weapons. But without those weapons, don't forget, I was the one that gave him the javelins that was able to knock down all the tanks.
How could we
Obama
forget?
gave nothing. Look, if I were president, that would have never happened. You wouldn't have had Russia going into Ukraine. You wouldn't have had the whole situation with Hamas and October 7th would have never happened.
What's the breakdown to $350 billion? Basically, Trump said we gave him $350 billion. So that's the way it is. Yeah.
Because Iran was broke.
Yep.
They had no money.
That's
they weren't
right.
giving it to Hamas or Hezbollah or anybody else. You would have never had the worst evacuation anyone's ever seen, which is Afghanistan, which was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. And you know what else you wouldn't have had? You wouldn't have had inflation. We had record-setting inflation under Biden. It was a killer.
You
and
may
it's
get
one
it
of the
again.
reasons I won the election.
But you may get it again with these tariffs, right? I
You
mean,
may get
one
it.
CEO said to me, my input costs have already started to go up. I'm going to have to raise prices.
In the meantime, guess what? Interest rates are down for the last 3-4 days at good levels. I mean, you know, when you add interest rates, you're talking about it's gone down. I've been saying, let's get interest rates down. You know, nobody ever gets rich when the interest rates are high because people can't borrow money. Interest rates.
I think the people that are giving out money do.
Are going down. You know what else is going down? What have I been trying to get down?
Oil.
Energy. Energy's going down. I'd love to see energy go down. You know, energy is really what caused it. They screwed up my energy.
I had to
had the
start a
most
bank.
energy, and they screwed it up. Then they went back to it. It was going through the roof. They went back to some drilling, but it was gone. It was hopeless. It was lost. But energy's gone down, and interest rates have gone up over the last week. That's a big thing. I love that.
Do you expect Zelensky to come back? Do you expect to do that rare earth minerals deal?
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll happen.
Are you sure there's the content that you think there is there? Because some people were questioning if, in fact, there is the, you know, the titanium and the lithium, all those the rare earth minerals. You think it is rich with those
well,
things?
I do. I mean, I've had it checked. I've had it checked by the best. It's very valuable. But with all that being said, Biden should have never put up $350 billion. He should have equalized with Europe. All he had to do is say, you got to stay even with us. They're in for 100. We're in for 350. How does that? And we have an ocean in between us, right? We're not in the danger that they are. They are in much greater danger, if you call it danger. He should have never done that. You know the other thing with Europe that bothers me? They've given Russia more money, by far, for buying their oil than they put into Ukraine. So they're paying all this money to Russia, and we're in there for $350 billion. Biden should have never done that.
I spoke with the president of Poland.
You have to understand that some people might not realize why he keeps repeating the $350 billion thing. The reason is that if you guys ever saw the movie Beetlejuice, is that if you say it 3 times close enough together, it actually turns into being true. Yeah, so that's the 3rd time. Now it's true.
The other day, President Duda has great respect for you. And I said to him, you know, what if the U.S. walks away and stays away? Here's what he said. Without the United States, do you believe that Europe is capable of offering meaningful security to Ukraine?
I would like to believe it, but experience to date shows that this has not been the case. The entire history so far of
You can tell he's from Poland because his name looks like it's spelled wrong.
the last 3 years of the war shows that without American support, Ukraine will not survive.
Are you comfortable with that? The fact that you walked away and Ukraine may not survive?
Yeah.
Well, it may not survive anyway, but, you know, we have some weaknesses with Russia. You know, it takes 2. Look, it was not going to happen, that war, and it happened. So now we're stuck with this mess. Think of what he stuck me with. Open borders where we have 21 million people came into our country, many of whom should not be here. Many are criminals. Many are criminals. Many murderers. Murderers. Drug dealers. Drug lords.
That's bad.
We got that. We have the whole mess with Israel on October 7th. We have all of the ramifications from the worst and dumbest withdrawal in history.
Both Ukraine and Israel were both attacked by aggressors. Is America treating both countries similarly? Are
That's a good question. That's a great question.
they treating the aggressors similarly?
I think so. Look, they're
Are
very
you
different.
favoring one over the other?
They're very different places, okay? Very, very different. You're talking about different levels of power. You're talking about different parts of the world. The Middle East has been under attack forever. It's been, you look, when wasn't it under attack? And then we came along and did the Abraham Accords, which was unheard of.
Have you been as tough on Russia as you've been on Hamas? I mean, what do you want to say to
Well,
critics?
I've been much tougher because I haven't done to Hamas. That's been Israel that has to do to Hamas. But Israel does tell me what's going on. I think I've been very tough to Russia. tougher than anybody's ever been to Russia, if you think about it.
Nobody's
First of
been
all,
tougher.
We had the Russia hoax, which was a very bad thing. Could have led to a war. And that was started.
This was in 2016, where everybody said that he wasn't the legitimate. Remember the hashtag not my president? You guys remember that? A little bit of a vintage meme.
By Schiff and all these lowlifes.
I know.
They're total lowlifes. And yeah, it was a fake deal. The 51 intelligence
He will not
agencies.
divide us.
It
I
was-
remember that.
I took all their passes away. They can't participate anymore. These guys know it came from Hunter Biden's laptop from hell, which came from his bathroom and or his bedroom, okay? Not a pretty sight. But this was a Hunter Biden thing. They said it was from Russia. No, I've been very tough. Remember this, I'm the one that stopped the Russian pipeline, Nord Stream 2.
Oh.
I stopped it. Biden came in and he approved it. I'm the one that put sanctions on Russia. I'm the one that gave the javelins against Russia. No, I've been very tough, but I got along well with Putin. And because I got along well, they say, he's so... Nobody's ever been... Putin would be the first to say it. Nobody's been tougher than Trump.
Man.
And Biden hasn't been tough. Biden's done nothing. He was a weak, pathetic man.
So is there anything else you want to say to the critics?
Damn, he really going in on Biden. Jesus, he's shitting on him.
To say you chose a side in the Ukraine-Russia story, and that's Russia. Because, you called Zelensky a dictator and you had the fight.
Nobody has been tougher on Russia than Donald Trump. Nobody. And they know that. They know that. Just look at the things I just told you. The pipeline, I stopped it. The biggest job they've ever done was the pipeline, Nord Stream 2. Nobody ever heard of it until I came along. They were building it happily. They were going to supply Germany and everybody else all over Europe. And what did I do? I stopped it. The biggest economic job they've ever had, I stopped it. Biden got in. On the second day, he approved it. He said, let it go forward.
Damn.
It was totally stopped.
Third time
Just
it's
that
true
one
now?
thing
That's the
alone
second
tells
time.
you everything. No, I was tough. At the same time...
Okay, now he just said it. That's the third time. Okay, so yeah, now it is true.
I got along with Putin.
Yeah.
I got along with Kim Jong-un. I got along with President Xi. But nobody was tougher, like on China, than I was.
And then there are reports now that Russia says it will help the United States negotiate a nuclear deal with Iran. What kind of deal with Iran do you want to do? You said they cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
That's the deal.
No, well, there are two ways Iran can be handled, militarily or you make a deal. I would prefer to make a deal because I'm not looking to
So
hurt
they either make a deal or Trump just bombs the shit out of them? Okay. I could easily expect that to happen. All right. Yep, stop doing it or we're going to kill you.
Iran. They're great people. I know so many Iranians from this country.
Well, not the leadership.
No, not the leadership.
The
no,
people.
They're very evil people. No, but the people of Iran are great people. But they had a tough regime, and they'd meet and they'd be shot in the streets. I mean, it was a tough deal. But I would rather negotiate a deal. I'm not sure that everybody agrees with me, but we can make a deal that would be just as good as if you won militarily. But the time is happening now. The time is coming up. Something's going to happen one way or the other. I hope that Iran, and I've written them a letter saying, I hope you're going to negotiate, because if we have to go in militarily, it's going to be a terrible thing for them.
You wrote a letter to...
So, damn. Damn. Okay. All right.
The Khomeini?
Yes.
The leader?
Yeah.
When did you send the letter?
Yesterday.
And you said you better negotiate, or we want you to
I
negotiate?
didn't say you better. I said,
Okay.
I hope you're going to negotiate, because it's going to be a lot better for Iran. And I think they want to get that letter. The other alternative is we have to do something, because you can't let them have a nuclear weapon.
You said you wanted to do the Golden Dome. You've got a lot of ideas for America. But then earlier you said you
We
wanted
got
to...
the Golden Dome. We got the gold cards, bro. Like, we're back. Yep. He wouldn't bomb shit. They fight proxy with Israel, or it's World War III. The latter won't happen, or it'll hurt his investment. So I don't know. The Golden Age. Yep. Think about that. The Golden Age. I feel like we got a lot. Make America gold again? Yep.
Cut $1 trillion in defense spending, right?
I didn't say I was.
You're not going to. So I was like, which is it? Are you cutting defense spending or are you building us up?
I never said defense spending.
Okay, because I think you were talking about denuclearization,
Correct.
and that's where the cutting of the spending came in.
I never said cut. No, it's not in these days. I'd love to cut defense spending, but not now. Because you have China, you have Russia, you have a lot of problems.
You got to buy a
there.
lot of bombs.
No.
In fact,
no, what I have said is we spend a lot of money on nuclear missiles, nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
The level of destruction is beyond anything you can even imagine. It's just bad that everybody has to spend all this money on something that if it's used, it's probably the end of the world.
Wow.
Wow. Damn.
I don't know what to say to that.
You know, when I listen to these climate lunatics and they talk about global warming, and they say the ocean's going to rise 1/8 of an inch in the next 300 years.
Yeah.
And, you know,
don't give a fuck.
And nobody talks about nuclear weapons or some of the other things, but the nuclear weapons in particular right now. And
he's got the
they talk
cards,
about
boys.
The climate. And they talk about the dangers of the climate. But they don't talk about the dangers of a nuclear weapon, which could happen tomorrow. They said 300 years. I watched Biden for years say the existential threat. He loved the term existential threat.
I use that.
Our greatest existential threat is from the climate. I said, no. The greatest is sitting in shelves in various countries called nuclear weapons that are big monsters that can blow your heads off for miles and miles and miles. And they never mention that.
Man, that's a lot. Big boy, heads off. Yeah, I don't know about that. That's crazy. And it's the day after tomorrow. Do you think if the world actually got rid of their nukes, would some countries keep some secretly? Yeah, I think that they would. I think that the logic is that stop building more of them because we can already blow up the whole world. So, like, we're kind of like at capacity here, right? We don't need to blow up the whole world 2 times. Let's just stop here. And we have some of these, but we don't need infinitely more of them, right? That's the point. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the line of reasoning that he has. Are you joining Doge? Yeah, maybe I will.
So Democrats are being called out by their own party for their behavior.
Jesus, bro, like this is some like millennial whose entire personality is watching The Office level energy. It's bad. It's real bad.
President Trump's address to Congress.
That is how you save democracy, by quietly dissenting or bidding on an antique tea set. It was hard to tell what was going on.
I don't know who thought up the bingo signs, but they should be fired.
Michael, this is an indictment, in my opinion, on the Democratic leadership.
We saw this.
Well, we saw the theatrics tonight in the chamber are not being well received.
I will say, I think there were times when they should have risen. I think what Al Green did was despicable.
And even Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman expressed his disappointment, posting this on social media. It only makes Trump look more presidential and restrained. We're becoming the metaphorical car alarms that nobody pays attention to, and it may not be the winning message.
I really like this guy. I don't agree with everything he says, but I think he's a real one. You know?
Joining us right now is the host of Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Awesome
he puts
analogy.
his name in every show he's on.
Does.
Piers Morgan, great. And we don't just talk about
familiar?
Yeah.
By the way, watching you try to interview the head of world football, you couldn't even remember the name of the sport. It's football. Watching you do that was one of the more comical things I've witnessed. Only rival.
He's talking about soccer, by the way. Don't get confused.
By what happened over here on the floor.
Right. Yeah.
When it was actually very well done, Lawrence, but that was embarrassing.
I love you. I love you. We have to defend our American sport. It's called soccer.
It is football.
Don't you want to defend me?
Yes,
It's all about America.
Don't come into
You mean
our
real football?
home.
Yeah, no, I mean the football you play with your
With a
hands.
smile on your face. So what do you think? What about Democrats against
What do I think?
Democrats?
Here's what I think. I think it was one. I was watching it live here in New York. I thought it was one of the most pathetic, petty, shameful things I've ever witnessed. And it went on.
He's so right. He's so fucking right. Yep.
And on and on. And, you know, back in the UK, we have Parliament. It gets very rowdy, very noisy.
Yeah.
They all have a pop at each other. They lock horns. What you would never see is somebody like that 13-year-old boy.
Look at their face, bro. Like, this is what I was saying, bro. Like, you really think you get a 22-year-old guy to be like, yeah, this is what I want. Yeah, I want these people to tell me what to think. Nah, bro. Nah, that shit is done.
A brain cancer survivor who's been through 12 surgeries, I think, who's being there, having his dream lived out on global television, and Donald Trump has facilitated that. Just get up and applaud that boy. The fact they couldn't even do that, I thought was just contemptible. I really did.
It looked stupid. It was an optical mistake, and they should have gotten up and clapped for it. And then also, like, we always have one of these people in chat. Why do we shit on Dems? But whenever MTG and Bobart screaming during Biden's speech gets a pass, when did I give them a pass? When did I do that? I'm curious when I did that. I mean, there's got to be a reason, right? I mean, it's not like he just. I mean, there's no way he just like imagined this, is there? He's not about to roach out, is he? You're not about to roach out. You've been typing for a bit. You've been having all kinds of opinions. You've been having all kinds of opinions, but now you get pulled up. We, not in specifically you, still here? Yeah, as in not specifically you. Yeah, because I didn't. Who here agrees with me that them doing it was also fucking retarded? It was retarded, annoying, and disruptive. Yeah. You're fighting with ghosts. Yeah, sure. There's some people that are biased. Definitely. Yeah, for sure. But, like, not everybody. One doesn't excuse the others. Yeah. You're purposely misunderstanding them? No, I'm not.
And the Democrats have got to take a good, long, hard look at themselves because the stupid signs, the not getting up for the poor families of these murdered people, the way they treated that boy.
The whiteboard was too much. Even the signs were okay. The whiteboard?
The walkouts. The silly Instagram stuff afterwards.
Yeah.
Look at me, I didn't go in. This is the President of the United States speaking.
What's going on?
In the heart of politics.
Yeah.
I think honestly, Lawrence, they've lost the plot. The Democrats have lost the plot. They did not see this big win coming for Trump in the election. They got completely wiped. They've lost all power. And they are scrabbling to work out what they do about this.
It's
and
hall
I think
monitor
the key
energy.
messages that Trump keeps ramming home.
Worst person to talk about this? Well, doesn't that make him the best person to talk about this? Because if you think Piers Morgan, if he can figure this out and he's not even from the U.S., then why the fuck can't they?
America's no longer a woke country, and that secondly, he's the sort of pioneer of a revolution of common sense. They don't know what to do about this. I mean, on one hand, you've got them all in their pink gear, right, going on about women's rights. On the other, they won't applaud a president who wants to bring back equality and fairness to women's sport in America.
Piers, a lot of people can relate to this, though, that are Republicans or conservative, because if you support Trump, they hate you too.
Yeah.
And so this little boy, he's there. It's not about Trump at that moment. It's about this little boy, and Trump's just allowing him to be a Secret Service agent. We don't know how that child's family votes. They're from Houston.
They started calling the kid. They started saying that he was a DEI hire. Like I saw like some like leftist people saying that he's a DEI hire. And I'm thinking to myself, So if this kid's getting a ceremonial position that doesn't actually matter just to make him feel good, and you're calling that DEI, it's just interesting. That's all.
That moment, Ainsley, I thought when Trump invited him to the Oval Office with his family.
That's right.
Yeah. And the little boy said, "Can I give you a hug?"
Yeah.
That is the human side of Donald Trump, which we've all seen a lot of, right? I'm really pleased we're seeing more of that this time around, because that is what he can be about. And I think the Democrats have lost their sense of humanity. I mean, they just don't know what to do. It's extraordinary to watch.
Last week, we had Macron and Starmer come visit, and then with Zelensky in the meltdown on Friday. And now there was an emergency meeting last night with European leaders. How do you view Europe being asked and told to come together and support Ukraine or other causes, build up your military, take ownership? How does that look from the inside?
Trump is 100% right about this, and he has been from the moment in his first term he went on about NATO and how the European countries were simply not paying their dues, and they weren't.
I don't see any defense for why they're not paying the money. If you can't pay the fucking money, then why do we have to pay the money? It's that simple. Yeah, like, I mean, fuck that.
And guess what? Now most of them do, but they should still be now.
Everybody, we always get one of these people. We always get one of them. And okay, now Israel. Again, you're jousting at windmills. You're fighting with ghosts. You're in an argument with a person that doesn't exist.
Paying more. You know, Poland, I think, has gone to 5% GDP on defense now, right? They're leading the way. Europe should be standing on its own 2 feet. If I was an American, I would be sick and tired of constantly having this assumption from Europe that you will always be here to pick up the pieces, to pay the bills, to do all the fighting. Right?
A lot of Americans do feel exactly the way that Piers is expressing. And I think this has been something that's been ongoing for a long time with, like, basic American sentiment. And Americans, I think, have a lingering resentment towards Europeans who always act high and mighty about their, you know, their social systems or, you know, their culture being more educated. Meanwhile, we're providing their defense. Meanwhile, we're paying our NATO dues and they're not doing that. And so as soon as people realized that was going to happen, that resentment was then channeled into not giving a fuck about helping Europe. That's the reason why. Oh, like, I would say, like, a huge amount of people in America feel this way.
Very proud that the UK has fought alongside America in many conflicts. My brother was a British Army colonel, fought in Iraq and Afghanistan. So, you know, nothing means more to me than that special relationship. But at the same time, Europe has got to start punching its way. I like the fact my new Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, and Macron, they seem to be leading this way now for Europe to step up properly. But I hope we do a deal in the end that brings, as Trump wants, peace, where the Americans are there, but you're not having to do all the heavy lifting like you normally do.
But Piers, do we, because some of the messaging from the mainstream media and Democrats is that I don't think we look weak, but they feel like we look weak as a country. What is the perception in the UK?
I don't think that a lot of people care about looking weak. I think Americans are less concerned with, like, the international, like, we care more about our own infrastructure and our own country than what Germany's opinion of us is. That's not particularly important. It's just not. Don't care anymore. Yeah, it's not higher on the priority list. Now, if we could have both, that'd be nice. And I think in a lot of ways we probably could. But if you had to pick, it's gonna be our stuff. You guys don't even know where Germany is? Proves my point. There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's funny because I spoke to President Trump last Friday morning, just the day after he'd seen the British Prime Minister at the White House. And I texted him, I said, I've never seen better media coverage in the UK than what I've seen this morning. Every front page lauding the return of the special relationship. Then there was the Oval Office bust-up. The next morning front page is the complete opposite, which is very, that's very Trump world, right? I think the reality is, as always, people react hysterically to everything the president does. They can't really work out what's going on. I always try and remind them. I'm known as the Trump whisperer in the UK. Well, what's he really doing? I said, why don't you just remember what he is?
Negotiation.
He's a businessman who's negotiating. I think Donald Trump genuinely wants peace. I think that he wants to bring everyone to the table, but I think he also wants Ukraine to accept that the war is where it is. This war has not moved in 8-9 months. Hundreds of thousands of people have been killed on this battlefield. It has got to stop. But he's got to do it, I think, in a way where America is strong, but also the Europeans understand this is a war happening in Europe. And you can't just go knocking on the door and say, America, sort it all out for us. It's got to be a concerted team effort. And I think
this is exactly the way a lot of voters here think, I believe. I believe this is the way they think. Yeah, absolutely.
Personally, knowing how Donald Trump feels about this, I think he will get that. And in the end, we'll look back on this period as being a little bit rocky, as these things always are when you try and sort out a war. But ultimately, I think we'll get to peace and people will thank him.
We'll see if this is the one deal that Putin sticks to, because he's famous for...
Well, you know what's interesting? I found a clip and it went viral, actually. And it was from when I interviewed...
No way. Oh my God. That's the one that we watched and we put that one up there. Oh my God. This is the interview with Bill Clinton. Remember that?
Bill Clinton at CNN about 10 years ago. And he was talking about his dealings with Vladimir Putin when he was president and Putin just come into power in Russia. And he said the interesting thing was, in public,
that is
they'd have all their
crazy.
squabbles and everything else. But in private, if he agreed on something and shook hands with you, he always kept his word. I think Trump has
Is he
that
watching?
relationship
Maybe.
with Putin. I think that they say what they say in public, but fine, and he has to play the game a bit to get Putin to the table. But I think behind the scenes, there's a lot of talking going on, and clearly Trump believes when it's him and Putin, he can trust him. That may be enough in this situation. We'll see.
For 4 years.
I told you he was going to be a good guest. They didn't think so.
Listen, I've got all morning. I mean, they want me to come and watch you kick a football. I mean, it's like, do they even know what the sport is?
I know.
I'm going to be judging it. Are you out there later?
It's so weird for a Brit to be arrogant about soccer. It's so unique. You never get that.
It's not soccer. It's football.
We know.
You took our sport. You changed the shape of the ball.
That's
you
right.
put padding and helmets
That's right.
on.
We made it better.
You've been a co-host before. It's time for Ainsley to talk. We got to pass over to the female anchor.
We're just taking time away from Brian's next interview.
That's right. Why don't we just I've got all morning.
I know. Once he's on, he doesn't leave.
Right. They wrapped us like 1 minute ago. So take it out of Brian's time with his guest, not mine, please.
Nothing better than taking time out of Brian's time.
Right.
Nothing sweeter in the world.
Who booked
Keep
him?
talking.
Who booked him?
Pierce, always good to see you. Thank you.
He's got a point. Yeah, we're done for changing football. It is dumb that I don't know how we did this, where we decided that the game that you play with your hands is now called football. Like, I mean, I think it's ridiculous too. I do. It's very ridiculous. There's the video. I think that Piers is right about a lot of this. And it's interesting to see, like, somebody who's not even like a Native American, like born here, like, obviously he's in fucking the UK, right? I think he gets it. I think he does. And he does. And at least he kicked the ball with the foot at some point. Yeah, but you don't even get as many points for that one. Aren't field goals like 3 points and a touchdown 7? I feel like, yeah, you don't even get half as many points for the ones that you score with your feet. Yeah, Native American. Well, like, what I mean is he's native to America. Like, I mean, I get what you're saying. Yeah, touchdown is 6. Oh, okay. Yeah, touchdown 7. I don't fucking remember, right? I mean, I'm not a big sports guy. I'm not a memer. I'm not sports is stupid. I'm too smart for sports. But I'm not a big sports guy either, to be honest. It's just not really my kind of thing.
Welcome to the first ever White House Digital Assets Summit.
No.
I know that many of you have been fighting for years for this, and it's an honor to be with you at the White House. I want to thank the White House AI and crypto czar David Sachs, Treasury Secretary. This is David right here, in case you don't know. You know David. And a man who's doing a great job as Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, who's right here. Scott, thank you very much. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, wherever you may be, Howard. Hi, Howard. He's doing some interesting work right now with all that's going on. He's right in the middle of it and doing a great job. Thank you. SBA Administrator Kelly Loeffler. And thank you. SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce. Thank you, Hester. Acting CFTC
he's doing roll call.
Caroline
That's a good idea.
Pham.
FIFA's going to rug it? You think they're
House
going to?
Majority Whip Tom Emmer.
Another shit
hello,
coin?
Tom.
How awesome.
Representative
Yeah, I think it's
Brian
great.
Style. Thank you. Brian, thank
It's
you
more
very
wealth
much.
redistribution.
Digital Assets Council Director Bo Hines. Good, Bo. Great job. And many other distinguished guests. We have a lot of very distinguished people around the table. Some of them will be speaking. I want to thank Marco Rubio also, who's right over there. And we have tremendous people very interested in this subject. And last year, I promised to make America the Bitcoin superpower of the world and the crypto capital of the planet. And we're taking historic action to deliver on that promise, as you know, around the table. Yesterday, I signed an executive order officially creating our strategic Bitcoin reserve. And this will be a virtual Fort Knox for digital gold to be housed within the United States Treasury. That's a big thing, Scott.
Oh. It's a lot. Digital gold, yeah.
The federal government is already among the largest holders of Bitcoin, as you know. Really one of the largest holders in the world, with as many as 200,000 Bitcoin obtained via civil law and various other forms of law.
So we just take everybody's...
including enforcement actions. These existing holdings will form the
just steal them?
foundation of the new reserve.
Nice.
Unfortunately, in recent years, the U.S. government has foolishly sold tens of thousands of additional Bitcoin that were worth billions and billions of dollars had they not
Damn.
sold them, but they did sell them, mostly during the Biden administration.
Of course.
Not a good thing to have done.
Of course he would do
From
that.
this day on, America will follow the rule that every Bitcoin knows very well. Never sell your Bitcoin. That's a little phrase that they have. I don't know if that's right or not. Who the hell knows, right? Who knows? Who knows? But so far, it's been right. And well, let's keep it that way. The Treasury and Commerce Departments will also explore new pathways to accumulate additional Bitcoin holdings for the reserve, provided it's done at no cost to the taxpayers. We don't want any cost to the taxpayers. In addition, my order directs federal agencies to conduct an inventory of all crypto assets currently held by the U.S. government and determine how they can be transferred easily to the Treasury. Non-Bitcoin digital assets will be held in a new U.S. digital asset stockpile where they will be managed properly. My administration also is working to end the federal bureaucracy's war on crypto, which was really going on pretty wildly during Biden until the election came about. About 5 months before the election, he became a big fan because he heard how many people were in favor of it.
How many of you guys have crypto?
Love it and respect it. But I guess it didn't work out too well for him. People understood what was going on and paved the way for groundbreaking innovations in institutional finance. Under the Bitcoin administration, regulators strong-armed banks. I mean, they really did. They strong-armed banks into closing the accounts of crypto businesses and entrepreneurs, effectively blocking some money transfers to and from exchanges, and they weaponized government against the entire industry. But I know that feeling also. Maybe better than you do.
Remember, because they tried to put it,
be over, and we are ending Operation Choke Point 2.0.
There it is.
Now, some people really suffered. It was ridiculous what they were doing. But in the end, they came around, but they came around for the wrong reasons. They came around only because they wanted votes. And they saw that tens of millions of people were against them because of what they were doing. I also want to express my strong support for the efforts of lawmakers in Congress as they work on bills to provide regulatory certainty for dollar-backed stablecoins and the digital assets market. They're working very hard on that. This is a tremendous opportunity for economic growth and innovation in our financial sector, and will really go a long way. I think it's going to be a tremendous, we feel like pioneers in a way, of tremendous method of growth. And
let them out.
Things are very much tied, and we want to keep it that way, the U.S. dollar, long into the future. We're going to keep it that way. I hope lawmakers will send that legislation to my desk before August recess if they can. And they're very much working with you, and you know a lot of them, and a lot of them were committed right from the very beginning. So I just want to congratulate you all for being at the White House today, and a man who knows more about Bitcoin and AI and just about everything else than anybody, David Saxon. I'd like to have you say a few words, David.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're all here today because of your leadership, your vision, and your generosity, and I really want to thank you for that. We're also here because of your desire to make America great and to introduce a golden age in America, including for digital assets. And we're here because of your love of innovators, or as you might say, high IQ people. Yeah, we know you love high IQ people. And we have about 30 of them here in the room today. These are the top people in the digital asset industry. And one other thing that I think that you love is legal fairness. This is an industry that was subjected to prosecution and persecution for the last 4 years, horrible lawfare. Yep. And nobody knows what that feels like better than you do. So we really appreciate the fact that you understand legal fairness and that you're always willing to fight for the right thing, for legal fairness. You never back down. You stand defiant, even in the face of an assassin's bullet. It's an inspiration to everyone in this room, I think.
Yeah.
So it's an honor.
That was crazy.
Thank you. So I just want to say it's an honor to work for you. It's an honor to work for a president who works every day to get so much done on behalf of the American people. Your administration is moving at tech speed. It's really amazing. It's actually faster than any startup that I've been part of, is that your administration moves even faster. So I just want to say thank you for having me be a part of it. I've enjoyed every minute of it. I love working for you, and thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you, David, very much. Appreciate it.
And now I just want to pass the ball to Secretary Bessent.
Scott.
David, so today, when President Trump has signed the executive order to establish the strategic Bitcoin reserve and stockpile, we're going to position the United States as a leader among nations in the digital asset strategy. It's important for the United States to recognize this fact and get ahead of the other nations in the digital age. We applaud the President's direction to use the digital assets already in possession of the nation, and we are going to establish this Bitcoin reserve. We will use this authority to augment the asset side of the United States balance sheet. As I've said many times, President Trump is creating assets for the American people, while most past presidents have created debt, and a large part of this asset program can be in digital assets.
Pump and dump. Yep.
We are going to end the regulatory weaponization against digital assets. The Biden administration's actions did nothing other than punish innovators. And that all of you have made it here today is really a testament to your fortitude. Much of Treasury's responsibility in this order relates to the tax code and determinations around risk weightings. And I'm here to assure you that we are going to work with the Controller of the Currency, the IRS, and we're going to rescind and amend all applicable previous guidance. And we are going to put a lot of thought into the stablecoin regime. And as President Trump has directed, we are going to keep the U.S. the dominant reserve currency in the world, and we will use stablecoins to do that. Thank you.
Damn.
Technology is at the foundation of the Trump presidency. He understands technology. He embraces technology.
That guy's
and he's
hair,
gonna use
man.
technology to drive
He doesn't give a
America
fuck.
forward. The blockchain and Bitcoin technology are a key part of that thinking, and embracing that and here today shows how much a leader the Trump administration and our president is. He understands it. He embraces it. As you said, you're a pioneer in this place, and this is where we're going. We're using the blockchain. We're using Bitcoin. We're going to use digital assets to pound forward, and Donald Trump is leading the way. Can't be more proud of you today.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Howard.
Damn. So this is like everybody goes around and says one good thing about Trump.
Kelly, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. This
This
is
is
truly
great.
a historic day.
Wow.
And as a crypto founder, I couldn't be more proud to be part of your administration.
How about that?
You're moving at the speed of tech for sure. And I will just say it's a great day to have the war on not just crypto, but the war on innovation done. And under your administration, we are truly going to enter into the golden age. And I'll just say, as the administrator of the SBA, small business is a tremendous network that crypto can be deployed against, and so the SBA is open to crypto. So I look forward to working with all of the leaders in this room to advance your efforts here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you very much. Tom, please.
Well, Mr. President, I want to say thank you. I want to thank you for the amazing team that you put together. I want to thank you for David. I mean, this kind of a meeting, no one in this room could have envisioned this just a couple years ago. You are the one that has the vision. You're the one that said we are going to do 21st century
Everybody has
finance
to-
right here in the United States of America. I've been doing this for 9 years. It is amazing how far we've come, and that's a credit to you, Mr. President, and your leadership. And God bless you for doing this, because it's going to make a huge difference with everything else you're doing. And by the
woman
way,
is so uncomfortable.
Americans love it. They're going crazy. Thank you.
He's getting his hands in front of her and shit like that. Oh God.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
going
very much.
crazy.
Everybody else?
Chill out, man.
Go ahead, please.
Does anyone want to say a couple of words? Cameron or Tyler, do you want to?
You're very shy in front of the
Actually, Cameron, I think you said something earlier that I thought was really profound. You said that a year ago you thought it would be more likely that you'd end up in jail than at the White House. Do you, not to put you on the spot, because you didn't do anything wrong, but that was the environment a year ago. But do you guys want to say something, either one of you?
Sure, that was actually Tyler who said that. but
Sorry, I still get
The
mixed
fucked up with the trophy? That's from
yeah,
the
we never
last
thought
stream.
that we'd get attacked the way we did in our backyard after trying to do the right thing for so many years and always trying to raise the bar with respect to regulations. So it's truly wonderful to see how things have changed and how the pendulum has swung back in the way that it has. And we've always felt that the U.S. should lead in Bitcoin and crypto, and it's ours to sort of lead and win. And it's just wonderful what President Trump has been doing with this, and we look forward to working together. And thanks for inviting us, David, and setting this up.
Thank you. Thank you both. Please.
Nope.
I was just going to say thank you, Mr. President. Cameron takes credit for a lot of my things I say, so it's not the first time. But the U.S. won the internet, and the U.S. should win crypto. So thank you for your leadership on this.
Thank you both very much.
We
High
own the
IQ
internet.
individuals around this table. That's what I always say. We need high IQ. So thank you very much. Would anybody like to say anything? Please.
I just want to express my deep gratitude
Who's this guy?
for the seriousness with which you're approaching our industry and how you're actually helping guide it in the right direction. I've worked with many central banks in other countries, and when I was working there, I was wondering why I, as an American citizen, can't help the United States financial system reach this higher level that the world is on course towards generally. And so I'm very grateful
Jonah Hill.
that finally there's been a new level of kind of common sense and adoption of these ideas. Me and the other people in this room do believe that the crypto, blockchain, Web3 infrastructure is the next iteration of the financial system. And I think that the U.S. should have its leadership position continue in that new financial system. And I'm very, very happy to see people like David Sachs, Secretary Bessent, Secretary Lutnick taking this very seriously with their time, and very grateful to them too. So I'm just overjoyed to see this, and I think it is a big part of how the U.S. can continue its role in the global financial system. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I thought it was very important that we stay in the front of this one. This is a big one. And as you know, China is pushing forward and very strongly as usual. But we're way in the lead, as we are in AI and other things, and we want to stay there.
Yeah, China's doing a lot, but we're better than China.
We have some
so
brilliant people sitting around this table.
Absolutely.
And it's an honor to have you involved, but we want to stay at the forefront of everything. And this is a very important day in your lives. I know you worked, some of you, very long before people really understood what was happening.
With the USA?
And so I congratulate you, but this is a big day. Being in the White House is a big deal, and you have great support. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, please. Thank you very much. Thank you, media. Thank you. Please.
You said please? I mean, as in please get the fuck out?
All right. As you see there, we were just listening into those remarks live there.
Please
out
get
of
the
the
fuck
White
out.
House
All right,
as
that's what I
President
thought.
Trump delivered remarks there at the White House Digital Asset Summit focusing on cryptocurrency. We know that a number of key leaders were there from the cryptocurrency.
Yeah, they had a bunch of people on there. I was retarded. Yeah, they didn't really explain much of anything. I was like, I thought there was about a 20% chance that they would announce a new coin. They call it like U.S. coin or America coin, Trump coin 2, something like that. Like, I really thought they were going to announce a new one, but of course not. Yeah, I guess not, right? But yeah, all the seized assets. Yeah, I didn't realize they had seized that much Bitcoin. Holy fuck, that's a lot. I didn't even know that at all. But yeah, there you go.
You say that the FBI headquarters should be shut down and reopened as a museum of the deep state?
Mr. Chairman, are we allowed to go an extra time?
Let's see. You get a second round. Before I call on Senator Lee.
Could he just answer the question if he said that the FBI headquarters, where they investigate cybercrime and terrorism, should be shut down and opened as a deep state?
Hey, Mr. Chair.
As a museum. Did he say that the headquarters should be shut down?
I think he did say that.
I deserve an answer to that question. He is asking to be head of the FBI, and he said that their headquarters should be shut down.
Mr. Chair, parliamentary inquiry.
You got anything you want to say, Mr. Patel, before I go on to Senator Lee?
Simply this. If the best attacks on me are going to be false accusations and grotesque mischaracterizations, the only thing this body is doing is defeating the credibility of the men and women at the FBI. I stood with them here in this country. In every theater of war we have, I was on the ground in service of this nation. And any accusations leveled against me that I would somehow put political bias before the Constitution are grotesquely unfair. And I will have you reminded that I have been endorsed by over 300,000 law enforcement officers to become the next director of the FBI. Let's ask them.
Mr. Chairman, I am quoting his own words from September of 2024. It is his own words. It is not some conspiracy. It is what Mr. Patel actually said himself. Facts matter.
You forget that you have 2 minutes in the next round to say what you just said.
Okay, I'll say them again.
Okay. Before I call Lee.
She's big mad. Just parliamentary inquiry, and it was on time. It wasn't disputing any of the debate, but I intend to keep to my 7 minutes, and I appreciate you keeping everyone to it. If we go over, can we have that decrement against the time in the second round?
Oh.
If a member goes over, that was actually 10 minutes, Mr. Chair.
I'm not sure that I want to. Sometimes it's faster to get things done here, just letting people shout and than it does to shut them up.
Mr. Chairman, you're a wise man, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
It's so stupid.
Chairman,
Mr. Chairman.
Before we go to Lee.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, what do you want?
What do you want?
I love this guy.
Oh my God,
Mr. Chairman, I'm unlike Senator Tillis. I mean, if we're going to start this, I want an extra 3 minutes.
Well,
now my friend Senator Klobuchar.
Oh my God!
3 minutes over.
So, here what you're saying is the chairman
Oh
wasn't
my
a very
God.
good chairman by not shutting her up. But I've gone through this before.
See, this is, you know what? This is, I think, what they were talking about like the federal government wastes a lot of time and money. I feel like this happens like, you know, this is like this sets the tone for the whole thing.
And I think I know how to handle it and get.
I think you're a star-spangled awesome chairman. I just want to say that for the record. But if you're going to let somebody over there go 3 minutes over, I want my extra 3 minutes.
Well, let's see if it's abused by anybody else before we make that decision.
I'm just telling you, I'm going to abuse it.
It's so good, man. Oh my fucking God, this is so good. Yeah, anyway, what is the rest of these? I'll get to the rest of them. Oh, wow. They look old. Yeah, they look old because they are old. Oh, here we go. What is this?
Fortunately, Senator, yes. I don't want to get into those details with my family here.
Oh, let's get into a few of them. Tell me about it.
Well, if you look at the record from January 6th, where I testified before that committee, because of my personal information being released by Congress, I was subjected to a direct and significant threat on my life. And I put that information in the record. I had to move. In that threat, I was called a detestable and
I know what he's going to say.
Go back to where you came from. You belong with your terrorist home.
He was called a sand N-word. Yeah, that's what it was.
Friends.
With the hard R. And he dropped it right there in front of everybody.
That's what was sent to me. That's just a piece of it.
Yeah.
But that's nothing compared to what the men and women in law enforcement face every day. And that's why they have my support.
I mean, I guess so, right?
In the collective, all of those statements are taken out of grotesque context. And anyone that thinks my 16 years of service isn't exemplary on how I would proceed if confirmed as FBI,
if you
is
get called it, you get a
intentionally putting
pass.
false
That's not
information
true.
into the public ether and creating more public discourse. The only thing that will matter if I'm confirmed as a director of the FBI is a de-weaponized, depoliticized system of law enforcement completely devoted to rigorous obedience of the Constitution and a singular standard of justice.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good idea. That would be great. Imagine that. And this guy, he did talk about the Jeffrey Epstein Black Book. And this is what I think a lot of people want. They want to have this shit get exposed.
So for instance, who is currently holding, this is way off the topic, but who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book.
FBI.
But who? That is, I mean, there's...
Oh, that's under direct control of the director of the FBI. Just like the manifesto from the Nashville...
So if we get this guy in charge, he puts it out there, right?
School shooting of the Catholic school. We still haven't seen that, right? It's not the Nashville police or PD saying we don't want this out. The FBI airmailed into that operation and said this is not getting out.
So there's a good chance, Trump would be on, they just won't release that page. That page would be like page, like 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 74. Wait, what? Don't worry about it. 75, 76, like that's it, right? And it's on page 69. Yeah, sure. And anyway, yes, I'll be very, very curious. Like I would want to see that happen just by itself. Yeah, just by itself, I would love to see that.
Read the rest of the interview. This is why snippets of information are often misleading and detrimental to this committee's advice and consent
Well,
process.
if you consent, I would love to have 5 hours of questions, and then I could read the whole transcript.
You've got 2 minutes.
Wow.
Read the rest of the interview.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, okay. Wow.
Did you say that the FBI...
This is the same one. Let me see if I can find the other one.
Mr. Patel, I think you know that I have great respect for the men and women of the FBI.
Yeah. Hi, dear. Can you open...
Jesus, what the fuck is this? Anyway, your Twitter algorithm is so biased. Well, I'm just looking up Kash Patel, right? I mean, like, I don't think there's really a bias there. You just look it up, and that's what's going to come in. Yeah, I don't know if that's a bias or not. I'll go back and make sure I get through the rest of these, but I feel like that's the majority of them right there. And
what were you doing on that day?
On that day specifically,
January
responding
6th.
to preparing to mobilize and deploy the National Guard once we got the lawful request from the local governing authority, which was the mayor of D.C. and the Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
Now, how many days in advance were you working to prepare the Department of Defense to help secure the Capitol on January 6th?
Days in advance, Senator, we were in the Oval Office on an unrelated national security matter with the President of the United States, the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and myself. And the President authorized up to 20,000 plus National Guardsmen and women to secure any security measures necessary related to the Capitol. So we were moving to the fullest extent of the law before the requisite request came from a local governing authority days ahead of time.
And while you were Chief of Staff at DOD, how many times did DOD approach Capitol Police and ask if they needed National Guard assistance?
I believe those letters are well documented, numerous instances, and in numerous of those instances, those requests were shut down.
So they didn't take in the National Guard for January 6th? I wonder why. Yeah, I mean, they should have known it would have been a shit show. Why would they not do that?
Now, am I correct that the Capitol Sergeant at Arms said assistance was unnecessary?
That's correct, Senator.
Who did the Sergeant at Arms report to?
The Speaker of the House.
That would have been Nancy Pelosi at the time. Is that correct?
Yes, Senator.
And would that also be Chuck Schumer, then the Senate Majority Leader?
The Sergeant at Arms, yes, Senator, reports up there.
Did Mayor Bowser, the Democrat elected mayor in D.C., either request or allow National Guard assistance?
She put in writing on the days leading up to January 6th a declination for National Guard additional support.
So she said, why? Why would she do that? Because they had FBI in the crowd whose job it was to rile people up enough to get a riot going and then use it to blame the right and gain power? Yep. That must be it.
And that letter is available publicly to the world.
For sure.
So, and just to speak English for folks at home, a declination meant she said no, don't send National Guard. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Let me ask you a simple question, because from the questioning from my Democrat colleagues, they might think otherwise. Do you condemn violence against law enforcement?
All of it.
Wow, okay, that's crazy. This guy's radical. Oh, man. It's almost like they want it to get out of hand. I mean, they mismanaged it. The thing is that here's my opinion on it. It seems obvious that they should have had the National Guard there, and there could have been a degree of malicious non-compliance, or like basically like we're going to allow this to happen, or at least increase the probability of this happening because it could be advantageous for us politically in the long run. That's possible, but it's also possible that they just didn't think it was going to happen. And also, it's not the government's fault when like the people that were walking into the Capitol building, breaking into the Capitol building, you know whose fault it is? Their fault. They're the ones doing it. It's not like, you know, the FBI is holding their arms and legs by strings and making them walk in. They were let in. Oh, hey, I have no problem with people that walked into the Capitol building and they didn't do anything and then they just left, right? I don't care. I don't think, and really most people care about that. People don't really give a shit about that. But like, you can look at the videos of people that are smashing the windows and stealing things, and I don't think that that's the FBI's fucking fault. I don't. I think that's their fault. If an FBI agent says, hey, why don't you just go, go rob a 7-Eleven? Are you going to go do it? Well, if you do, you're going to have a bad fucking time. So no, I think it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that you're blaming grown adults. You're blaming the actions of grown adults on other people. These are adults. These are people. They let it happen. They let it happen implies that the people were doing it. You see what my point is? They were doing it. They did it. They're wrong. They should not have done it. It's not a question. Both can be correct. Yes, both can be correct. It was mismanaged, but also I'm not going to go and say like, oh, well, they caused this to happen. The people that did it caused it to happen. Both things are true. I think so. Yes, both things are true. Accurate and true. Do you think there were instigators in January 6th? I would assume so. Maybe not even just from the government. Maybe anarchists, maybe people that just wanted to fuck shit up. Sure. I bet that's the case with the BLM riots. Like, I remember when the BLM riots were happening, and my mom was like, I'm so glad you're not, this wasn't 10 years ago. And I'm like, why? And she goes, because you and Cody and Jeff would be down there looting. Oh, yeah, for sure. Stop police brutality. Yeah, definitely, guys. All right. So, oh, wow, look at that. Yeah, of course, right? And so I think that for sure there were agitators. Absolutely. But there's agitators and everything like that. I don't know. But anyway, let's move on. That's my viewpoint. I think it's pretty fair.
Colleagues, I created a cash bingo card that I have available to any of my
Man.
colleagues who would like it on the other side of the aisle.
I love how the blank spot in the middle is just an American flag.
I view this as an unserious caricature and not appropriate for this committee. Sadly, I consider it a serious caricature of what I expect to be witnessed today.
Oh.
I think we'll have words like enemies list and deep state. I've already X'd out 4 boxes in the opening statements alone. The fact of the matter is, some people will be here to simply substantiate a false narrative. Colleagues.
That's probably true to an extent. Yeah, people trying to talk a bunch of bullshit. Is this the same one?
At the FBI headquarters.
Man, people don't like her. You know why? It's because the haircut. She got to get a new haircut. She looks like a Karen. She looks like she'd get mad at you for writing her name wrong on a Starbucks cup and want a free one next time. I'm just saying it. Everybody's thinking it, but I'm just saying it.
Patel, before I go on to Senator Lee.
Simply this. If the best attacks on me are going to be false accusations and grotesque mischaracterizations, the only thing this body is doing is defeating the credibility of the men and women at the FBI. I stood with them here in this country. In every theater of war we have, I was on the ground in service of this nation. And any accusations leveled against me that I would somehow put political bias before the Constitution are grotesquely unfair. And I will have you reminded that I have been endorsed by over 300,000 law enforcement officers to become the next director of the FBI.
Is it? I didn't know if it was or not. Let's see here if I can figure out the rest of it. And
Sounds to me like we need to get some new conspiracy theories. Sounds to me like we need to get some new conspiracy theories because all the old ones turned out to be true.
I love this guy. I do. I think he's so funny. Just like the way he says shit and everything is so good. Oh my God. Yeah, I'll leave the other one.
Conspiracy theories, because all the old ones turned out to be true.
Yeah.
Facts matter, Senator.
Yeah. I mean, conspiracy
That's
theorists
somebody
are up
else.
something like 37-0.
Okay, well, wow, okay. Let's see if I find the rest of these. Cloud Democrat, what's this here? Oh, the Epstein list. Here we go. All right, they finally got to talk about it.
Their questions, and it has led me to one thing. Why are the Democrats so afraid of you?
I don't know, Senator. You'd have to ask them.
Well, I tell you what I think, and listening to their questions and your responses, which we appreciate, they know that you're going to go in and you're going to clean up that political cabal that has been over there for years. You are going to reposition the FBI to its core mission. You stated that earlier in this hearing, and there will be no more political persecutions and no more 2 tiers of justice. And they have liked having 2 tiers of justice. They have enjoyed it, and it has helped them. They think in their political mission, they've enjoyed targeting Catholics. They've enjoyed targeting parents. But the American people have said they want no more of that.
Okay.
And our colleagues know you're going to clean it up. I want to talk to you about the Epstein case.
Here we go. Because, like, in my opinion, I feel like, in terms of, like, importance, the Epstein list is, like, 100 times bigger than the Diddy list. Because the Diddy list is just a bunch of weird celebrities and maybe, like, random local, like, people, right, or whatever. The Epstein list, that's the big one. Yeah, that's the big one. Yeah, in our prediction, exactly, right? We're talking like presidents, royals, heads of state. Like, oh man, multi-billionaires, crazy shit.
I have worked on this for years, trying to get those records of who flew on Epstein's plane and who helped him build this international human trafficking, sex trafficking ring. Now, earlier...
It's crazy how everybody is in agreement that he was doing sex trafficking, but nobody knows who was who was he being trafficked to? How is it that we don't know all the names? That's crazy.
I urged then Chairman Durbin to subpoena those records.
Yeah.
And I ended up being blocked by Senator Durbin and Christopher Wray. They stonewalled on this. And I know that
Trump on the list. So a lot of people bring up Trump being on the list. Trump was on the list of flights. There is no evidence that he was at Epstein's island, but there is evidence that he was on Epstein's plane and he was friends with Epstein. So, like, you can take with that what you will. Is that the correct? Is that the correct evaluation? Yes, it is. Okay, all right. And so and again, I'm not like, my perspective is if you did weird stuff with trafficked kids, you should go to jail, right? I mean, so like if Trump did that, you should go to jail. Like, I mean, it's not even like, what are we talking about? So, yeah, I mean, of course I would want everybody to know. Yeah, death, not jail. I mean, like...
breaking up these trafficking rings is important to President Trump. So will you work with me on this issue so we know who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in building these sex trafficking rings?
Absolutely, Senator. Child sex trafficking has no place in the United States of America, and I will do everything, if confirmed as FBI director, to make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened in the past and how we are going
Thank you. That's the thing. This is the reason I think that one of the problems is that a lot of the distrust from the government comes from the government being opaque about where the distrust came from. And I think that that's why I thought it was a good thing that they released the JFK and the MLK files, is because especially with Martin Luther King, there is so much I feel like it was pretty much common knowledge that the FBI was fucking with Martin Luther King, right? Like, how many of you guys knew that this was happening before any of this stuff went public? Right? We all knew this was happening. And so the way that you solve that and the way that you get beyond that, because that's a racial barrier, because Martin Luther King is probably one of the most influential people in civil rights, fucking absolutely, right? So this is a huge racial barrier, and it's a scar that has existed for 60 years, right? And it's not about making the scar go away, but it's about healing it. And the way that you do that is you show people the transparency. This is what happened. This is 100% it. And if the government did something bad, you take accountability. You say, we fucked up. That's our bad. But that's how you move forward, because you can't move forward if you can't even acknowledge the past. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I was such a big advocate for this kind of stuff. Yeah, it's the only way. Exactly. And so I want to see all of this stuff happen. Absolutely. Transparency is vital. It is. It's 100% vital.
Hear your answer, yes or no. Did you make money?
I don't have those financial
This is my third and last time I'm going to ask you that question.
You have that information.
So you refuse to answer the question.
I answered 1,300 pages.
No answer. And yet you spread dangerous misinformation. Hear your answer.
What the fuck? Oh, man.
You're being considered for director of the FBI. And here you did no diligence to find out whether people you were associating with now the President of the United States in song were convicted of attacking police officers. Is that who we want running the FBI? I want you to turn around. There are Capitol Police officers behind you. They're guarding us. Take a look at them right now. Turn around.
I'm looking at you. You're talking to me.
No, look at them. I want you to look at them if you can, if you have the courage to look them in the eye, Mr. Patel, and tell them you're proud of what you did. Tell them you're proud that you raised money off of people that assaulted their colleagues, that pepper sprayed them, that beat them with poles. Tell them you're proud of what you did, Mr. Patel. They're right there. They're guarding you today. Tell them how proud you are.
That's an abject lie, and you know it. I've never, ever accepted violence against law enforcement. I've worked with these men and women, as you know, my entire life, and I did not make a single dime out of it.
Well, let me.
How about you ask them if I have their backs, and let's see about that answer.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Patel. Let me ask you this. If an FBI director promoted a song of people who sprayed pepper spray in the face of an FBI agent, would you say they were fit to be director?
Mr. Schiff?
Yes or no? Would they be fit to be director?
I am fit to be the director of the FBI.
If you were the FBI director and you promoted a song with someone who beat an FBI agent with a pole, would you say you were fit to be FBI director?
Mr. Schiff, I am fit to be FBI director based on my 16 years in government service.
And yet you did all these things, Mr. Patel. You can say, oh, I support law enforcement. I decry violence against law enforcement. You can say all that. It's what you did, Mr. Patel, that matters. It's what you did that matters. Well, let me ask you about something else that you did, Mr. Patel. Did you claim that Donald Trump declassified all the documents at Mar-a-Lago? Did you claim that?
In what proceeding?
To the public, ever. Did you tell anyone that Donald Trump declassified all the documents at Mar-a-Lago?
From publicly available information, President Trump issued a declassification order on a variety of materials.
No, I'm just asking you, did you tell the public, did you tell anyone, did you make the claim that Donald Trump had declassified those hundreds of classified documents that were at Mar-a-Lago? Did you make that claim publicly?
From my best of my recollection, I said President Trump issued a declassification order to a large number of documents.
Yeah, and were you present when he declassified all the Mar-a-Lago documents?
Senator, I'm not saying he declassified all the Mar-a-Lago documents. I said President Trump declassified a large number of documents, and I would hope this committee and the rest of Congress would want to get those documents to the American people.
Mr. Patel, before a president or anyone declassified documents, wouldn't...
I think it's pretty easy to say, by the way, that like talking about a rap song where you're pepper spraying police is like bad. Like if you're like going to apply for a law enforcement role, it's pretty easy to say that. Yeah, I think that this is it's not good. It's bad optics, right? You shouldn't do that. But who cares? I'm not saying it's a big deal. I'm not saying it's a big deal. I'm just saying it's bad. You ask my opinion, is it good or bad? I think it's bad. Is that fair? I'm not saying, oh, wow, you shouldn't be the director because of this one thing. But, yeah, I think it's bad.
You want to know whether making the public would cause sources to be killed? Wouldn't you want to know that before you just declare they're all declassified?
Fence? No, I'm not on the fence. I want this guy to be the director. I think he's great. I completely support him. I'm not a fence sitter on this at all. I like him. Yeah, no, I do.
Wouldn't that be the responsible thing for a president to do?
It was the responsible thing for us to do. That's why we declassified the Nunes memo.
And did Donald Trump declassify?
And no one died.
And did Donald Trump ever ask any of the agencies who produced those documents whether declassifying them would put people's lives at risk? Did he ever do that to your knowledge, Kash Patel?
I don't know that he didn't. Do you?
No, that's the problem, isn't it? That's the problem, isn't it? So let me just ask, Mr. Chairman, if you would,
yeah,
Mr.
this guy's acting a little bit. He acting a bit crazy.
He would support the release of his grand jury testimony in that case. I would ask you, Mr. Chairman, ranking member, to join me in requesting
a little bit,
with Mr. Patel's approval, the release of those grand jury
Bro's
transcripts.
on the list.
And I would also ask Mr. Patel, would you support the release of Volume 2 as it pertains to you of the special counsel's report? Any reference to you in the report, to your truthfulness, will you support?
I can see the way that he acts, though. I can see why they call him Shifty Shift, though. Like, I could easily see that. Like, that was a good one. Yeah, like, you can immediately tell exactly the reason why they say that.
Support the release to this committee of those sections of Volume 2 of special counsel's report.
I support following the law and providing whatever information the law requires.
But you said to the Wall Street Journal that you support transparency. Here's your chance, Mr. Patel. You support release of that to this committee, yes or no?
Your time's up. Before I...
Oh, there it is. Let me see. There's another one. I'll see if there's any more of these that are interesting.
Getting off some people, you're not doing your job right.
My colleague and friend Senator Durbin called you a conspiracy theorist. You remember that?
I do, Senator.
Is this how I...
You were instrumental in revealing that the Trump-Russia election collusion hoax was a hoax, weren't you?
Yes, sir. I was the lead investigator.
People are still going on about that even now. They're still going on about it being a hoax from Russia. Yep.
Sounds to me like we need to get some new conspiracy theories because all the old ones turned out to be true.
Facts matter, Senator.
Yeah. I mean, conspiracy theorists are up something like 37 enough.
So stupid. Okay. Where's the rest of it?
And I'm going to let good cops be cops and put handcuffs on the bad guys and put child molesters in prison of America. And I'm going to let good cops be cops and put handcuffs on the bad guys and put child molesters in prison and put murderers in prison and make sure CCP fentanyl doesn't kill another one of your constituents. That's track one. Track two, to restore the trust in the FBI.
Did he point at the Democrats and then say your constituents? Because I'm pretty sure that, like, if...
That has degraded, not by my opinion, by the Gallup poll, that only 40% of Americans have trust and faith in the FBI. It is a cataclysmic failure in leadership to get to that point that did not happen over time. And so what the FBI must do while tackling violent crime and protecting...
That's what I was saying before about that MLK stuff. That's why people don't trust them. Is because they're opaque about it. They don't explain it. And like, if you don't explain things to people, you're not going to have them believe you. They're going to think that you're a fucking liar.
Americans' national security and our sovereignty is work
Yeah, they
with
hide shit. Yeah,
Congress,
exactly.
Republicans and Democrats, to expose any government corruption, provide government accountability through transparency, and get you all the documents that you are the custodians of. The FBI reports to Congress. If I am confirmed as FBI director, I will report to Congress. And I will just save you with this one caveat here about my personal experiences with the FBI. The men and women of the FBI do the most courageous work on God's green earth. I was fortunate enough to utilize FISA 702 national security measures to prevent a shopping mall from blowing up in Houston.
Holy
and the
fuck.
state capitol from being attacked in
Jesus.
California. Courageous men and women do that work every day, and these are cases you never hear about. Instead, the only things you hear about are the baseless conspiracy theories and attacks levied at me. Well, here's something for America. You can say whatever you want about me. If I'm confirmed, bring it on. But you will not denigrate the men and women of the FBI that saved this country.
Hey, there it is. I mean, like, I've had, for interesting reasons, they've all been extremely professional and really good. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've had to interact with a lot of law enforcement and interesting people over the years. And yeah, they're very, very competent. I'll say that. Let's see if there's any more of these real quick. Make sure I go through all the rest of them. Uh-oh. Look glowy? No, not necessarily. Sorry. Not the haters going wild, people getting mad. Yeah, I'll fine. Because you work for Disney? Do I work for Disney? Is that it? Yeah, who would want an intelligence agency to be fully transparent publicly? I think with controversies and issues that happen that are extremely public, it's in the best interest of the public, especially long after the fact. Like, for example, with Martin Luther King, that bad blood like that is put down. And the way that you do that is by basically explaining what happened, because you're never going to trust somebody again who lied to you, who still won't tell you what they lied about. You see what I'm saying? Like, the first step to being able to trust somebody who was previously untrustworthy is for that person to tell you what they lied to you about, right? Of course.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Patel, do you believe that background checks for firearm purchases are constitutional?
I don't know the in-depths of it, but I think that's what the Supreme Court has said, Senator.
So the word would be YES, yes. Can you say yes? Are background checks constitutional?
I can say whatever the Constitution and the Supreme Court ruled is the rule of the land.
Fucking obviously. He's the director of the FBI. Yeah, this is already settled. He doesn't make that decision. Yeah, what kind of an asshole? Yeah, why not? Well, of course he doesn't know. Yeah, it's a gotcha question. He's not a lawmaker. Yeah, what is this? So, the condescending?
Yes. Can you say yes? Are background checks constitutional? So the word would be YES, yes. Can you say yes? Are background checks constitutional?
What a nasty little bitch. Ooh. Oh, what a... Oh, jeez. Watch Cup Star get grilled? No, if people have other ones, I'd look at those too.
Senator, as you can see, I took a photograph with an individual who showed up at a book event. I don't believe I'm guilty by association.
Oh, so the senator, they said he's a racist. This guy's a racist. Did you know Kash Patel is a racist?
Showed up at a book event. I don't believe I'm guilty by association, and I certainly don't believe that an individual who is the first minority to serve as the Deputy Director of National Intelligence for this country is a racist in any way, and I detest any conjecture to the contrary.
What a ridiculous thing to say. So he takes a picture with somebody and he somehow endorses everything that the guy says? How the fuck does that make any sense? How is this guy so good at defending himself? Because he probably has been told this 50 times. I bet there's nothing new that they're coming up and saying. Yeah, he's a white supremacist? Oh, of course. Well, what people mean by white supremacist is that that's a person that you disagree with.
You brought up public trust at 41%. So in a general way, without going for an hour, tell me what you're going to do to increase the public trust of the FBI.
Simple. Make sure we don't have 100,000 rapes in this country next year. Make sure we don't have 100,000 drug overdoses from Chinese fentanyl and Mexican heroin. And make sure we don't have 17,000 homicides. Those numbers need to be cut in half immediately. And the public will regain trust in the FBI and law enforcement once we achieve that mission.
Yeah. Yeah, put the people that do crime in jail. Yep, that's right. And stop that from happening. Yeah, I feel like that's a really good one. And being ahead of time and, being ahead of the ball and just making it happen before it does. Like that bomb thing that they were talking about. This guy ain't stopping shit. Well, it sure seems like they're not stopping shit anyway, so why not at least try it? That's what I think.
Hear your answer, yes or no. Did you make money?
I don't have those financial
This is my third and last time I'm going to
disclosures
ask you
in front
that
of me.
question.
You have that information.
So you refuse to answer the question.
I answered 1,300 pages.
No answer. And yet you spread dangerous misinformation. Here.
Oh, man. Oh, bro, why is she so pressed? I don't know. Why? I don't know why she's crashing out like that either. It's nuts. Talking to herself, yes. Like, Jesus, man, what is that? What a clown, no answer. Yeah, I guess so.
You've committed that the FBI will not be politicized. So here's your first test. Will you commit that you will not tolerate the firing of the FBI agents who worked with the special counsel's office on these investigations?
Senator, I appreciate the time to visit with you.
It is a yes or no answer, and it is your first test.
Senator, every FBI employee will be held to the absolute same standard, and no one will be terminated for case assignments.
And I'm not going to accept that answer because if you can't commit that those FBI agents will be protected from political retribution, we can't accept you as FBI director.
All FBI employees will be protected against political retribution.
Those individuals deserve to be protected from Trump retribution. That was your first test. You failed it.
By saying all FBI employees should be protected?
What a stupid... Well, bro, who is this guy? Yes, who is this guy? He just said it. Yeah, he literally just said it. Fucking cause people are so stupid. Yes, I know. Well, what you have to understand is that when this kind of stuff happens, the reason why it pops off like this is because what they do is that they're trying to convince people that they're making the right decisions and like this person is bad. So they try to turn something that's like maybe complex or whatever into a yes or no question, change the question to be slanted in a way that is disingenuous. So then the person has to clarify themselves. And then in the context of clarifying yourself, there is the implication that because you can't say yes or no, then you are a liar. That's the logic, right? And that's the manipulation in play here. Everybody does this. This isn't a Democrat trick or a Republican trick. It's just this is what people do. They're farming clips. Yes.
That's new.
Pete, I'm actually going to ask you questions because I want to hear your answer. How many genders are there? Tough one.
Senator, there are two genders.
I know that well. I'm a she-he, so I'm on board.
Wait, he actually is a Okay, that was really good. God damn, that was really good. Wow.
Senator, there are two genders.
I know that well. I'm a she-he, so I'm on board.
I don't get it. Read his name.
What is the diameter of the rifle round fired out of an M4A1 rifle?
That's a 5.56.
Yeah.
How many push-ups can you...
I knew that one, by the way. I played PUBG.
You do?
I did 5 sets of 47 this morning.
Damn.
What do you think are most important strategic bases in the Pacific?
In the Pacific, Guam is pretty strategically significant.
How many rounds of 5.56 can you fit into the magazine of an M4 rifle?
30, right?
Depends on the magazine, but standard issue is 30. Senator.
PUBG.
And what size round does the M9 Beretta standard issue sidearm for the military fire?
A 9mm, Senator.
What kind of batteries do you put in your night vision goggle?
Duracell.
So right there, you're representing qualifications.
Man. Oh boy, easy questions. Yeah, it's like I knew a lot of these, man.
In other words, you're quite sure that every general who serves should not go directly into the defense industry for 10 years. You're not willing to make that same pledge?
I'm not a general, Senator.
You'll be the one, let us just be clear, in charge of the generals. And
oh, jeez. Oh, God. No, General. Yeah, wow. And do you want to know what's really funny about this? Do you remember what I said about how in school, when I didn't know the answer to a question, I would tell a joke? Remember that? And everybody would laugh and they'd move on. I do think that it's problematic that people that are in the military immediately go into defense contracting. I think it's problematic. I think it's a perpetuation of the military-industrial complex. I don't think it's a good thing. Perfect fucking deflect is exactly what I was talking about.
I'd like to submit for the record signatures by 32 members of the House of Representatives who are veterans. The signatures call on the Senate to honor the constitutional duty of advise and consent by conducting a fair, thorough confirmation process that evaluates his nomination solely on the substance. And
somebody also brought up a really good point, and this is you articulated it much better than I did. Your hygiene, not that message. If generals know at the end of their career they can just go to private arms companies, then they can help those companies while at their job as a general. Exactly. Completely agree.
Merits. His distinguished military service, academic credentials, and a bold vision for revitalizing the national defense. I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record.
Without objection.
There's a lot of talk going about talking about qualifications and then about us hiring him if we are the board. But there's a lot of senators here I wouldn't have on my board because there is no qualifications except your age, and you got to be living in the state and you're a citizen of the United States to be a senator. Other than the fact we got to convince a lot of people to vote for us. And then when we start talking about qualifications for if you're qualified for it, could the chairman tell me what the qualifications are for the Secretary of Defense? Mr. Chairman, could you tell me what the qualifications are for the Secretary of Defense?
I'd be happy
I'll read it.
for you to do
He got it ready.
Let me read it for you because I Googled
I was getting some advice from my second in command.
Yeah, but I'm just making a point because there's a lot about qualifications, and I think it's so hypocritical of senators, especially on the other side of the aisle, be talking about his qualifications, not being able to lead the secretary or be the Secretary of Defense, and yet your qualifications aren't any better. You guys aren't any more qualified to be the senator than I'm qualified to be the senator, except we're lucky enough to be here. But let me read you what the qualifications of the Secretary of Defense is, because I Googled it, and went through a lot of different sites, and really it's hard to see. But in general, the U.S. Secretary of Defense position is filled by a civilian. That's it. If you have served in the U.S. Army Forces and have been in the service for, you have to be retired for at least 7 years.
You want to know the reason why they're pushing back on this guy? Is that there's a chance that I think that he's probably not like one of the guys that's part of the inside group, and maybe he's not old enough to where, they're going to have him be part of that inside group yet. I think that's probably the real reason. Good? Yeah, no, I like him for sure.
Congress can weigh that. And then there's questions that the senator from Massachusetts brought up about serving on a board inside the military industry, and yet your own secretary that you all voted for, Secretary Austin, we had to vote on a waiver because he stepped off the board of Raytheon. But I guess that's okay because that's a Democrat.
This is some fucking Metal Gear Solid plotline shit. This is the reason why those games were so popular.